without starting over.
Okay. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. This is ShadowCast Unnumbered because it's technically a Juices Loose podcast. What this became is a fight that we never really had. We always had them on Juice Loose podcast, kind of off to the left and right. We couldn't really do that for reasons of the scope of the podcast itself. So we're gonna go ahead and have this fight. We're gonna talk about which is the better game, Xenoblade Chronicles X, and we're gonna we're gonna talk about reasons why you prefer said game. I being the host, I'll go ahead and say this up front. I'm going to be a little bit hypocritical because Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is my game of the year last year over Zelda, over Mario. Fuck what you heard. Like, time I beat that game, that was what I said. However, I'm willing to say that Xenoblade Chronicles X is the better game to me of the two if you compare them. Even though that wasn't my game of the year that year because a weird little game from Galaxy Trail I ended up liking better because I hadn't played a Sonic game in a real long time, and I was really close to being the most perfect Sonic game I ever played until Sonic Mania. But anyways, this is the debate. We got the foreside of Xenoblade Chronicles 2. You can go ahead and identify yourselves. I think we know who I am, so I guess Retro, you're going to be for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, definitely. And who else is for Xenoblade Chronicles 2?
Me.
That'll be you, the insane game freak. Yes. Okay. So I don't know. I don't think you guys have ever been on a ShadowCast before. So if you Retro, could you introduce yourself real quick just so people understand you and your channel?
Yeah, well, I've been on YouTube for like a decade now, I think, making videos. I started out doing like really bad vlogs and bullshit, and I think halfway through I started feeling like the gaming community in YouTube, and I started making a lot more gaming related videos and meta related videos. And I think then since 3 years, I don't even remember, 2 years now, damn, it's been a while, I've been part of like the Juices Loot podcast, and I'm always known as the one who like says the shit nobody wants to hear.
That's definitely a true statement.
That's a really accurate representation of who you are.
Awesome. Insane game freak. You can go ahead and give your intro as well.
Okay. About the same tier. I've been on YouTube for about 10 years. Originally I started primarily in anime videos and whatnot, and I still do those. I think I've been doing specifically gaming videos, probably consistently, probably like at least for 3 or 4 years now. And I think I've been on the Juices Loose podcast since 15, maybe? I don't know. It's been a while. It's been a good while. I'm surprised how long it's been. I'm usually the guy known for having the anime obsession and waifus and shit. So you shouldn't really be surprised on what side I'm actually on, considering the just the artistic difference between the games. That's not my only reason, mind you, but that is a running joke. Yeah, I think
I've been away for like a little bit by now. By the way, I'm finally back, and I haven't had the chance to say this yet, but your new avatar is gold tier, by the way.
Oh,
due to the whole Koopa.
Yeah. So everybody was going through some lifestyle changes. And people hated No Nut November. That's all I'm gonna say.
Nobody knew I already had it going on the whole time on my Twitter account.
That's because you suspect. That's why it is.
That's just a different character in the Shadow Files universe. I mean, people that follow me from way back in the G4 days know what that's about.
Oh wow.
But, so my teammate, I guess, in this situation would be Terminator Juice, and I don't think Terminator. Have you ever been on the ShadowCast before? I know you've been on Gamers at Large, but have you ever been on the ShadowCast before? Or is he still?
This is like playing Starlink and shit.
No, it's not Starlink.
Yeah, he's playing X, I think, right now.
Listen to that music.
I recognize it, but it's terrible music.
Actually,
until you go into overdrive.
Not the standard Caldros music because a damn battle started right before I held the thing up. So
yeah, Caldros music is good. That's some epic ass shit.
Yeah, so I think this might be my first time.
Okay.
On one of your podcasts, and Yeah, I'm definitely. Well, I like both games. Let's just be clear here. I think they're both really good games. They were both my number 2 game of the year in their respective years. Xenoblade Chronicles X was number 2. Probably would change that now. I gave Mario Maker my game of the year that year. Just I still love that game. I was just playing my own all my levels again like 2 years later, just to kind of replay. And Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was also my number 2 game of the year for 2017 behind Breath of the Wild. So, they both kind of have the same story with me. And I feel like basically it's a similar, like the combat and everything feels very similar. But when it comes to the differences that we'll get into, that I think there's one huge difference it's hard to reconcile with me. So with two.
So could I mention one thing? Do you think both games definitely get better with age? And the reason why I asked that is because we both had Xenoblade Chronicles X and Xenoblade Chronicles. Well, I had Xenoblade Chronicles 2 as my number 1 game of the year, but Xenoblade Chronicles X came in second to the Galaxy Trail game, which would be I can't think of the name of it right now. That's how bad it is.
Oh, you're talking about
Freedom Planet.
Yeah.
And that was because I was like really in need of Sonic at that time, and it fit the mold better. I would say in some cases better than Sonic Mania at the time. But even after that though, and I'm still 200, 300 hours more in X. Like,
yeah,
obviously after the fact, I should have picked that as game of the year.
I played X probably for another close to maybe 150 hours after I did the game of the year decision, and I should have.
You guys do it.
And I got my Ares 90 Scale, which I'm playing with right now.
Awesome.
I just wanted a refresher on the differences of, and I can actually run in this game. I can actually run around. So,
yeah, there's Traversal. Yeah,
we
haven't started the debate yet, but
I just want to put this out here. So just kind of the same way Juice did. I do like X, and so I don't want this to be a situation where people think that I absolutely hate X. I enjoyed the hell out of X.
So is Retro the only person that absolutely hates X?
It's like, okay, like, I'll be honest, like, well, I don't know if it's good. It starts getting into debate when I say shit like that, but like, I'm like, with X, I'm like 70 hours in. I'm gonna be fair. Both these games, I haven't finished them yet. I'm like 70 hours in X, and I'm like 80 something, I think, in 2.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with I tried before 2 came out, and even like a month ago or 2-3 weeks ago, I started playing X again. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna fucking finish this shit. Everybody's like, this game is the best thing ever. Wait till you get the skills. So I started playing this. I swear, 5 minutes later, I turn it off. I cannot play this game anymore. Like, so it's not like I hate it, because there's a lot of scenery, and I love seeing the scenery. It's a beautiful looking game. And that's about it. Like, I just can't play it anymore. So it's not like I hate it, but I'm coming close.
Okay. That's obviously we'll get into. Like, to me, just switching from using the D-pad to select the arts versus the arts just being tied to a button. I just played them back to back, and it's like it feels like the same experience. You hit R, you trigger, you start the battle. I mean, X has the little.
There's a lot more to it than just that. Just saying.
But yeah, I mean, the combat to me, it's just from going one to the other is just so seamless. Like, I don't even consider them different. I mean, there's obviously changes, but I mean, just because art's tied to a button versus using the D-pad to select it, I mean, that's more of a control change in my opinion. So, but I beat both games, and I think I have. Let me look on my Switch. I think I want to say 150 hours in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but let me verify that. And then I have like 220 in X.
Sounds like I'm the most seasoned when it comes
to
definitely.
I guess I can.
Yeah, 155 in 2, and about 210, 220 in X. So
I guess, and just for my hours, I've beaten both games. X, I think I'm like either 110 hours in, and I'm like 400 and 30 in 2. 2 to me just was a more addictive experience, and I just
Yes, I
I
agree.
it was
So I just
but-
wanted to comment too on what Shadow Fox said. I think Xenoblade Chronicles X for me definitely got better once I realized there was all this extra layers to it,
Oh my god,
and
so many layers.
getting the skulls and I don't know. It's your ShadowCast, but I'd be curious to hear everyone's like Xenoblade Chronicles X. What's the best thing about it in your opinion? What's the worst thing about it in your opinion? And do the same thing for Xenoblade Chronicles 2. That's
That's
just like a starting point. I think that'd be interesting.
That's probably the first thing I forgot to tell everybody. First of all ShadowCast start with a Bacardi break. I know my video is fucking up right now, but also it means you can say whatever the fuck you want to say, and we can run it however we want to run it. So if you want to say that, hey, we need to start describing things that way, then I mean that's what we can do right now. I really don't give a shit. It's a ShadowCast. Let's go.
Juice, you go first then.
All right,
I
so
almost drop Bacardi.
I would say Xenoblade Chronicles X, the tippy top thing I like, my favorite part of the game is the planet mirror itself. Like just the design, the exploration aspect, like especially once you get your flying skill and you see, and you're flying around and just the design of it just is unrivaled in almost any medium. I mean, I put it up to Avatar level as far as like a world being realized. So that for me is by far and away, and the exploration, traversal, and everything is good. If it wouldn't be good, it could look this awesome, have this really cool world, but if it wasn't fun to move around in it, then I wouldn't like it. So the worst thing about X is, and it's in the past for me because I'm past the story missions, but it's undeniable, is those quests or missions where you have to find like 8 of an item.
That's all of them.
And you have no, it is not.
How dare you?
There's just like you got these little diamonds on the screen and you walk over them and then you find out what it is after you've obtained it, and it doesn't give you any idea where this shit is. If there wasn't Wikipedia and people somehow figuring this shit out, because in the early goings, well, thankfully the game came out in Japan early because there was already a lot of answers to these questions, but it's like, oh, you need 8 of this. I don't even know what to even call it. Like I just ran over a white Cassis, and it's like, oh, you need 8 of these. Well, where the fuck do I find it?
Yeah.
And it doesn't tell you, even if it's a quest, it doesn't tell you where to go to find that particular item. If it's a creature, it points you in the direction. So for the early goings, which I'm well past, I've done all the side quests, I've finished all the missions. I got nothing left in that regard, so I don't have to worry about that kind of stuff anymore. But that to me was definitely the biggest downer for this game. And then for Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I guess my favorite part of it is the character interactions, like the cutscenes, that the dialogue, not all the dialogue, but the character interactions, and mainly in the cutscenes, but also in-game engine stuff. I think that's my favorite part of the game. And
I still can't believe, like, with that stuff, like, how intricate they made that if you have specific
Outfits.
blades and shit, for example. No,
of course you'd say outfits.
that, like,
Well, yeah, because I've been seeing a lot of those recently.
no, it's just like how, like, the characters that you use with you, that they have different interactions. Like, if you have, for example, like, and I can't think of any fucking names. What's the chick I like? Electra in English, she's called, I think.
Yeah, Electra.
Yeah, like if you, for example, have her with you, specific characters say specific things to her where you're like, dude, they had to literally program there's that tiny interaction here for that specific person. And considering the amount of blades and shit and the amount of people in the world, like, I think it's crazy how detailed they made that stuff.
Yeah, so that's definitely if you know me, that's not really a compliment when my favorite part of a game is like the story and cutscenes,
Skip a lot of that crap.
character interactions. I looked forward to running into Zeke again and stuff like that. And honestly, that's my favorite part. The weakest part of X or 2 is the world, and I just found it, I wouldn't want to say boring, but I just found it uninteresting. Getting around was or where you're going is it's not about the environment. It's focused on the characters. So just like trying to get somewhere, trying to use that stupid ass map that just does not work right, in my opinion. I don't like the whole, well, once you get into this area, it just switches to another little segment of the map and they don't connect.
Yeah, they don't connect at all.
And even though like you got the Titans and you can see them moving and stuff, most of the environments other than Uriah were just bland, uninteresting, or just, I mean, forgettable. So that's the weakest part. And then everything in the middle is I kind of liked both games in the aspect. So that's my highs and lows for each game.
Okay, so if I was going to talk about the highs and lows, well, the first thing I want to say to everybody in chat, everybody's watching right now, fucking spoilers is going to happen. So,
Okay.
I forgot to mention that part. But if you haven't beat both games, I don't know what to tell you at this point.
Well,
I
Retro
might
said he
tune
hasn't
out
beat
here
him.
and there. Then yeah,
He's
'cause,
very
like,
spoiler sensitive.
Yeah.
like I'm just at least if at least you don't really talk about like the endings of the games, then I'm gonna be good for the
You're
most
not going to
part.
finish X, so we can tell
I mean,
you.
well,
That.
Yeah, we can tell you about X, but and I think that's kind of important. But
Did you even get the flying skull, Retro?
That's gonna be part of my complaints. We'll talk about that.
I'm just curious if you got it or not.
Well,
Because
okay, well, I can.
you didn't
start
get to
talking
the
about
end
it
sequence
you
if you
want.
Cardigan.
if you don't have a
But-
flying skull, then you didn't get to the cool end
Yeah,
sequence.
but this is the shit that I mean. One of the
Oh,
reasons
here
I
we
fucking
go.
hate that game.
I'm
Turn the hat backwards.
No,
let's make it
but
a
like
baseline.
you're
Spoiler
asking if
time,
I
guys.
have this
Homer.
skull, you know. It's like you're asking if I have this skull, okay? And this is how Nintendo is like, oh, Xenoblade Chronicles X. Nintendo's are promoting shit every video, every stream, every fucking thing they do. They're flying in skulls. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna fly in skulls. Like I look at what the skulls are available and shit, you know. And I think maybe Troll's the only one who gets this, but I used to watch like Metabots, you know, and it was like one of my favorite. Like it's like an anime, and there's like robots in there.
All right, I
And
know
one-
what you're talking about.
And one of the skulls looks like one of my favorite Metabots. I'm gonna get this fucking skull. I'll make it red and yellow. It's gonna be like a giant fucking 20-foot like Metabot, you know. I'm like, cool, okay. I'm start playing this game. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4. I'm like, where the fuck is my skull? You know, Chapter 5, Chapter 6, Chapter 7. Okay, fuck this shit. I'm looking up online. Okay, there's 12 chapters. Well, I'm already almost done with the game. Chapter 9. I finally get my skull. Bitch can't even fly. It's shit like that. It's like, no, like this. I cannot feel that people praise this game so much because of the skull shit when you need to get to the end of the game to get the fucking skull when it's promoted as like I don't know.
True.
Yes, I have a
That's
skull.
rushing through it takes 40 hours to
It's
fly.
like, yeah, exactly. Like I have a skull, it cannot fly, and that's one of the reasons I stopped playing again.
Well, that's just a baseline for where you are in the game. Because
Yeah.
there's a pretty epic cutscene involving. I just didn't want to spoil it.
No,
He saw the
describe that
cutscene because it was
you
the
can describe that
E3
if you want.
trailer, the E3 2014 trailer. I think it was.
I will say, though,
like 2014.
I know you still got to give your full take, but they promoted Mithra in a lot of commercials and 30-40 hours before I got Mithra. And
Yeah, they spoiled the shit out of her. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's kind of the same argument.
I wouldn't say that because you get Mithra by chapter 4, and there's 10 chapters.
Yeah, but still for me, it was about 40 hours into the game.
I think the
Yeah.
second place you land, you get Mithra basically and shit. And yeah, it's also pretty much hours into the game, but you're still like in the first 1/10 of the game when you get Mithra.
Me personally, I felt that, and I feel kind of slighted by it. It was good for me to know it in advance of the game, but I think it would have been better for me to learn that along the way. I watched the Nintendo Treehouse, and I was watching them do auto attacks and then counseling them into specials, or counseling them the arts, then counseling those into specials, and then they told me that it doubled the damage. And then if you did the special the same way, that it tripled the damage. And if it was a level 3 blade combo, that it basically added like 200% to the damage of your combo. And I'm like, so why would I ever attack any other type of way? So I started the game knowing that. And that kind of spoiled it for me, because I was like early on in the game, me fighting like level 10 creatures or whatever, they weren't even a challenge to me.
Well, see, the reason, and the only reason why I'm fine with them telling people that, because people's biggest issue with the game was, at least with 2, was
accessibility.
It wasn't easy. A lot of people didn't pick up on all that shit. A lot of people were like, oh, they shouldn't have spent that time in the direct. this looks a little bit too convoluted. There's tutorials everywhere. No one really got into the battle system like that. Most people were playing it normal, didn't even realize you could cancel attacks. The only reason why I'm not against it is because people couldn't understand it to begin with. So it's like, at least give the effort for those who are willing to watch the footage and learn. Otherwise, you have this drop off where people don't get it, which still ended up happening. The hell, the game still sold well, so I guess it wasn't too bad.
All right, so Insane Game Freak, you're gonna give your. You already get? Did you give
Well,
your?
I wanted retro. Did retro had to finish his?
He kind of
I
he
didn't
did.
start
Really
yet mine really. But
Yeah, I was like,
that sounded like a pretty big complaint.
I guess.
I have, like I told you guys, like I borderline hate it. I have a lot of complaints about the game. Shit,
Well, I guess I can go ahead and do mine because I think mine's will be kind of shorter. I'll start in reverse, so I'll say Xenoblade 2. My favorite thing about Xenoblade 2 is it's weird. I probably would say it's the grind of it all. I like the fact that you grind you grind for rare blades, you grind to level up your characters, you grind to give them new abilities. I love it. It's very JRPG, and that's like my part of my. And I love a lot of things about Chronicles too. But God, I love the fact that I can constantly change my team and their synergy, and because of the blade system, I can swap everything in and out the way I want it, and I can switch blades to whatever character I want. I love that grindy nature of raising their affinity charts for the characters and the blades, and then getting to see all their rare blade stories and whatnot. I love the grindy nature of Xenoblade 2. The thing I don't like about it,
I just got called out. I should do more streams. I got it.
You probably should do more streams. The thing I don't like about Xenoblade 2, and it's hard, I probably would say it's the performance of the game. That's like the thing I hate the most about it. And in certain areas, I'll get that slowdown and shit, and it'll drive me nuts.
So here's the part where I defend Xenoblade Chronicles 2, though. Like, so so I'm supposed to be fighting for X, right? But this is the part where I defend Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
How dare you?
Xenoblade Chronicles X. Xenoblade Chronicles X always has a power supply. Xenoblade Chronicles X is always running 720p. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, in some cases, upscales to 1080p. So even though the base game, I think, is around 720p-ish, and then when you're on mobile, it's, below 480p or what have you. But, I mean, dude, 11 watts. Like, what are you...
If I'm about to put it this way, if my least favorite thing is the performance and everything else in the game that's wrong, because that's not like it's the only criticism I have of the game. That's the thing that bugs me the most. Tells you I like a lot of shit in the game. And just to touch on X, ironically enough, my favorite thing about it is probably the traversal. I like the fact that I can run and jump up mountains and shit, and it's full on ridiculous. Essentially, my character is superhuman, and I like that there's an in-game reason for why my character can do that. And it makes exploring the world fun, because I don't really feel like the only thing that I'm limited by is literally my ability to want to keep trying or not. So X, I really enjoy the running around and jumping 50 feet in the air and shit. That's great. The thing I hate the most about Xenoblade X is probably
everything else.
Not everything else, because I like Xenoblade X. That's why it's hard. I probably would say I don't necessarily care for because I have a few issues with X. Some of it involving the story, some of it involving the battle system. But I think the thing I dislike the most is probably, I think I didn't like the fact that you had a bunch of different roadblocks for dumb shit, like the whole the collection points, you had to do a certain amount of those before. Like, I didn't like the constant roadblocks for the story in some of the later chapters where you had to do a specific number of certain things to progress the story. Because I feel like it should have been a natural flow, and it wasn't, especially considering how many underutilized elements are in X. It drives me nuts that I'm being roadblocked for basic shit. So that was probably my least favorite thing. So those are my pros and cons.
One thing, because to say on something you said, a lot of people keep saying this. Okay, like, I'm never like about graphics or performance and shit, and I complained about Breath of the Wild with certain shit in the beginning until they patched it, and even then the Korok Forest was still bullshit. I never once understood or had a problem even for a second with the performance of X2. Like, I don't know, like I don't get the issue. Some people say it runs like shit and everything, but I'm like, I guess maybe I'm just like, because of my old laptop, maybe I'm just used to like shitty frame rates. I don't know. I never once had an issue with that. And when people say it, I don't get it. And then since people say it, I try to pay attention. I still don't get it.
That's the one thing I'm going to defend, man. Look, I can sit on the fucking toilet and still get the same experience that I did on my TV. Yes, okay, a couple of frames are missing. Yes, okay, the pixel detail isn't as great, but that motherfucker should be like a good 12 inches away from my face anyway. So that change in our relief
here's my thing. And like I said before, if my biggest complaint is the performance, considering there are other issues with X2
at 11 watts, by the way,
I will say, I don't know about the frame rate. I just know
the frame rate has its
the frame rate's bad too.
It's the first and only Switch game that was a noticeable downgrade going to portable mode. Like, it was undeniable. I'm looking at it right now.
Does not look pretty.
But at the same time too, have you guys tried Torna? Because that clearly showed that was a launch game. And
I've
Torna,
seen screenshots of Torna look worse than the original.
So on mobile for me, Torna for me in motion on mobile is significantly better than 2 was.
Yeah,
on mobile
Torna runs better.
Like, that shit looks like 200p if you compare 2 to Torna. Like, Torna is obviously 480p, like max. It ain't going no higher than that on battery. But when you compare Torna to what 2 was, you could tell that they took extra time. Like, the entire beginning of the game in the forest on Torna, like, that shit would not even be possible in 2's engine at all. Like, it's individual lighting cascading through the fucking trees and shit. Like, that's not even, like, how are you even able to do that on a battery, period, is what I'm trying to figure out. And they got that going. Like, you could see that on the iPhone, but only at a couple of frames per second, like 10 frames per second.
Well, that's because, like I said before, I think Torna is definitely using an upgraded engine, but the difference is that Torna runs better, but I don't think it necessarily looks better. I just think it runs better. And that's the only advantage you have over, at least in terms of that kind of stuff.
They had time to update the engine, so Torna noticeably looks better both in handheld mode and in dock mode. You know, depending on the areas that you decide to compare, with the exception of Gourmet, because for some reason they decided to make Gourmet like devoid of life. In Torna for whatever reason.
Well, considering the time period it takes place, a lot.
And it looks better on mobile than it does on 2. So, you know, go figure. And I guess how do we compare that though? Because X is like giant landmass that's stationary, and 2 is giant landmass that you look up and a fucking tail is moving. So
to me, that wasn't worth the sacrifice.
It wasn't worth it for you.
But to be fair, Xenoblade Chronicles X has some of the worst like pop-in distance for non-important
stuff. Xenoblade Chronicles engine though. That's the same engine as the Wii.
I will say like the bigger creatures and stuff have a pretty decent distance, but it's like the
small ones,
like the little not really bases, but there'd be like a vehicle where there's actual civilization you run into just out in the wild, and like a vehicle and like an antenna or like a trailer. Encampment will just pop up like literally right as you're walking up to it.
I had issues in not Noctilum. What's the other one that looks like it's the sand, but it's underwater? Which one is that one?
It's underwater.
Which one is that?
There's nothing underwater.
But it seems like it's underwater. It's like Noctilum. It's with the dragon at the top of the fucking
Primordia?
Not Primordia. It's past Primordia, past Noctilum. It's the sand type, but it looks like white sand.
The Silverlum.
Silverlum. Yes. So when you go to Silverlum, I had issues with the little mushroom pods that you walk by. Those little fuckers were just loading at random on me left and right, and I had downloaded the hard drive pack or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was still getting like why the hell these shits are just loading at random just in this area? But I go to Calderus or any other area and everything looks fine. But in Silverlum, everything was like just randomly. I start walking on foot and shit just looked crazy. But I could fly in my scale and everything would be smooth. But when I'm on foot, it was like popping. Like I always see like a little mushroom or a little pod, you know, whatever, and the little snow would just be like crazy, like loading. So
Like that is not like one of my worst things for X, but it is one of my like major problems. The fact
just
that
in Silverlum
the
though,
game just doesn't know. But to me, the game just doesn't feel like physical. Like what you said, if you're walking in like the main city and shit, you know, like people and buildings and skulls, they pop up like 5 steps away from you, and then there's the car, for example, and they just drive right through you. They don't even have like a fucking like.
The problem is
but that's a holdover from Xenoblade Chronicles.
That is one of the things for me
it
that
feels
like, kills the immersion
like
already.
It changes.
You know what I did? I just jumped over them, even though I could go through them.
I don't want to have to do that because I do.
Well, you have to jump over them.
And shit.
To be fair, you don't have to. That's the problem.
I know,
Yeah, you
but
can walk straight through them.
if you jump over them, it takes away that in your mind that you're running. Like it makes it feel like I just would do it just as a little mini game for myself while I was just running through New LA. Like I'm just gonna jump over these cars, even though I can walk through them. It doesn't take me out of it because I'm not running through them. So I did it to help the immersion in that regard.
Hey, so real quick, Quantum L, hey, you are like legit in the chat, man. I really feel like you should be.
Where's the live chat? Anyway, you got a link.
Oh,
yeah. Just go to the chat on the channel, and then just I just popped the chat out as in a separate window.
Well, and before we
like Quantum L is fucking running it over here, like he should be mod, and I don't even know how to do that shit. Like I haven't even set up mods because I don't have a paid channel, so I don't give a fuck. Like,
but when you're among normal people, you can talk, discuss properly. Like you don't need a mod in this situation.
Yeah, but he's acting like a mod, man. He's running. He's like, hey man, get these likes up. What the fuck is happening?
I got it. I got it.
Like I'll just because we keep talking about a lot of shit, I'll just quickly like give still like my favorites and least favorite things about each game, and like we'll talk about a lot of shit. So I'll just really try to stick with one thing for each game. I'll start with X2 to make it fair and shit. Like my least favorite thing about X2 is the free microtransaction bullshit. I hate the system where you have to like waste like half an hour to an hour of your fucking evening playing this game, hoping you get like a good blade or some shit. Like I don't understand the purpose of these fake blades. I don't use them. I don't care about them. I wonder how many people actually use them. I'd rather give like half my team like nothing than use these fucking empty clone things. And I don't understand the system. We have to find these cores and then gamble and then hope you get something. I think that is so stupid, and I really hate that like so much. The thing I like best about X2 is something like Terrell, he touched upon. Well, he said the grinding nature, but I don't like grinding as much, for example. But Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has something only 2 other games ever did for me in my life, and that is where you have like an RPG. Tales of Symphonia is one of the other ones, and the other one is Button Kaitals, where
God, both of those games are great.
So much fun. Like I just love fighting, like wasting half an evening just fighting because I like the combat system. I love how like intuitive it is, like how dynamic it is, like how interactive it is, and like I said, because I mentioned about Enkaidos, like the voicing and shit when you do the combos, it reminds me so much of those games. Like the combat is just perfect for me. My favorite thing about
Cotton isn't on here, but Retro, how do I convert you? Because what's going to happen is you're going to complete chapter 10 in Xenoblade Chronicles X, and then you're going to see the end game. And then once you see the end game, you see how ultimately awesome Xenoblade Chronicles X combat system is, and you're going to be fucking the hook. How do I sell you on that before you get there?
Once I get to that point, I have a reason for that. Once I get to that point, I'll be honest and shit. But for me, if like something is really cool at the end, but the journey towards it isn't fun, 9 out of 10 times I won't get there because I need to enjoy my game.
Yeah, that's a good point. If it's not fun getting to the end game, I get it. I got you. I hear you on that. That makes sense.
Like with me with X2, I didn't have nearly as much fun getting to each new story cutscene, but I did it because I looked forward to the cutscenes, whereas in X, like the cutscenes, there was some actually. I think Chapter 8, where there's an attack on New LA. Like that cutscene to me, that had me pumped. Like I was
ready to fight for your town.
Yeah. But so there was good cutscenes, but I just enjoyed like going 30 hours without a cutscene. That's how much I like exploring the world and the combat. For me, that was my first Xenoblade game. I didn't play the original, and for me, X2 was like, I was Terrell. Hopefully you remember. I was just like, dude, I can't wait to get to the next cutscene. Like I was like pushing through.
That was the most invested I heard you be in a story.
And then the ending was a complete letdown for me. So that kind of left a little bad taste. But I'll say the whole world tree section was a letdown for me.
Oh, you talking about the reveal, or are you talking about just going through World 2?
The reveal, and then just how
like a couple years
boring and monotonous it was. But anyway, Retro, were you finished?
Yeah, no, I was still talking like I was gonna get to X now and shit. Like I just like my favorite things about X, and there are things I like about the game, and there's two things I love. So I'll mention both of them because I gotta praise the game somehow. My least favorite of my two favorite things is how nice you can customize your character. I love creating characters. I hate it. Like I'm a Shadow guy. I'm like Terrell. I hate it that they removed the boob slider. It makes no fucking sense. I have like a chick in the game.
They removed that in Europe too. That was gone.
Look, that boob slider is critical.
But it's like I don't even need like what Terrell's avatar. I don't need like triple D tits. You know, I feel that the tits my chick has, they're too big. I don't want
video reaction.
You want them smaller.
But it's not just the character creation. I love it in X how every armor you can equip. Sometimes in games you have armor that looks so stupid, but you're like, fine, I wear this dumb shit clown outfit because of the stats, but I like it how X has layered gear where you can actually choose gear based on the stats, and on top of that, put shit to make your character look visually good, and I fucking love that. I love it how I can create like a chick and give her like half a cyborg arm and shit, you know.
So you got to that part. I didn't know you could do that early. I thought that was like after scale type shit.
That was pretty early.
So you can do that from day one.
What did they call the?
I think you needed to unlock it, but it was
a costume one, and then there's like normal gear.
So I didn't know until like I was like pretty close to beating the game before I realized you could just say, you know what, I like how this costume looks. I can make this just for cosmetic, and then have all this shit just for stats.
Yeah,
I didn't know that was just.
Wow. I think not
that was
enough
a great
games do that.
That's
shit,
awesome.
And I love that. That made me. That's one of the rare things that makes me come back to the game. Still, the fact that thing you could do to the character. But my favorite thing about.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if you can get the right setup, you don't even need the skills. You can take on. I think for the final you have to, but there's like
because the final
that's the thing. How do I explain this? So you spend all this time trying to get a flying scale, only to get shit later on to where you don't even need a scale and you kill everything on foot. Like literally, that is your goal. Your goal is to kill everything on foot.
But yeah, I'm curious what your favorite thing is though.
Yeah, like my favorite thing, like it is weird because it is part of my complaints as well. But I just love I just love the graphics. I love like some of my favorite shots. I see them still now, and it's the Wii U, and they look better than some PS4 games. When you see like the landscapes, like my favorites are always like when you have like the super dark sky. I think it's in the desert always, with those giant like Stargate rigs coming out of the floor and shit.
Yep,
that is so gorgeous, and I love that about the game.
That's all real time, all there in the engine,
and I love that. But then we come to like one of my biggest complaints. Like I have a lot of complaints, but I'll keep it my main complaint, and that is what something that you guys like. It's the traversal. I hated that the only thing I can do in this game is like run from battle to battle to battle. And like I said, one of my complaints is that I just hate this battle system. I don't know how to explain it, but it does the complete opposite of X2. It is like not interactive enough. It is annoying. It is long. It is so boring as shit. And that is the only thing you can do. You fight. You walk somewhere. You see something. Oh, cool. Let's go there. And there's no surprises in the world. You know, that's the thing. Like the world, there's no surprises. Everything you will find in the game is an enemy to fight and another enemy to fight. And the worst thing about this is that a lot of areas, because people say it's like, oh, it's so free, you're not locked off, you can do anywhere you want. Yeah, no, because if you have like this like trail and there's like 5 of those monkeys of level 80 there, you're not getting through there. It's artificially blocked, so you're forced to go a specific way. Like, okay, I'll go to this ring, and then I'm there and I'm looking at it, and it took me like 2 hours.
That's only initially.
I'm gonna say this though. I'm gonna disagree with that, because that was part of the thing about the traversal in X that I enjoyed, that it wasn't really blocked. I mean, I get it. It was frowned upon for you going over there because they're high level monster. But if you cared enough and you were dedicated enough, you can get through it. Mm-hmm. And I appreciated the openness to allow me to have the ability to do that. It's like, if I die, that's my fault, because I knew there were 80 level creatures in there in the first place. So I respect X for leaving the door open, whereas other games would just shut the fucking door.
It is without
and that was something from the original Xenoblade Chronicles, by the way, which we're not giving enough credit.
Xenoblade games had that. I mean, in Gormott, there's a level 80 monkey that when you first walk in there,
forget Gormott.
It's the same Gonzalez from the original Bionis on Xenoblade Chronicles. Yeah, it's the same fucking Gonzalez.
Every Xenoblade game, at least from what I've played, has that section where you don't have there's a high level enemy in an area that you have to go through.
Usually,
here's the thing, because like I said, I know it's definitely more free than X2. I'm definitely not denying that. But okay, so I can go anywhere. I have to do a fucking mission now before I can continue with this. That's one of the reasons I stopped. Actually, I have to do a mission. Okay, story mission. Explore this much percentage of this land. Okay, fuck, annoying. Sure, I'll go do that. I go to that area. Okay, there's a lot of towers there. There's only one tower I can still go to. Okay, I go to that tower. Okay, I want to go up to the top. I go to the top. There's a lot of level, and when I say level 80, it's you can just fight them. No. Those are you're level 20, they're level 80. They hit you once while you run away and you die. Your whole team.
That happened to me in 2 a lot as well.
Though. To the right, there's these mountains there. Oh, you can't go over the mountains. So that's annoying. Then you go through the cave. Now you can't go there either because there's a rock there you cannot climb yet. Okay, then you know what? Fuck this shit. I jump all the way in the south of the world into the water. I swim all the fucking way around the world, and you go up there. Okay, I'm up there. Oh wait, but there's this whole fucking castle shit. You are directed in a specific way, and the worst thing is, like I said, you have to do this in order to continue the story. So yeah, you're more free than X2, but in a really annoying Frankenstein kind of way.
I will say, to counter that, every story-based battle I was in, I won easily. That game, maybe it's just because I enjoyed exploring in the battle system. I was over-leveled, but other than the final boss, every single main story quest, if they were level 20, I was 30 plus. If they were level 40, I was level 50. I've never encountered a story mission that took me anywhere even close to difficult.
But that's not in the story yet. I have to do that in order to access the story.
I mean, exploring, like I said, this will be the difference why you liked it and I didn't. Every single chapter, I had the exploration already done. I'd already meet the criteria. The only thing I didn't on a couple was some of the affinity quests you had to do. And that was, they forced that on a couple characters because eventually those characters were going to be gone. So they wanted to say, if they don't do these affinity quests, they're not going to get to know this character that's about to die or whatever, or turn on you. So I think I know that's why they did that with some of the infinity quests. But as far as the whatever percentage of the world you need to explore, I'd had more than enough every time. So I never even encountered that roadblock that Terrell mentioned earlier.
Well, just to finish that up, like I said, because it really goes together, I feel, the traversal, like I said, with the combat. I don't know what it is. It is hard to explain, but there's a massive difference between X and X2, where X's combat is I try to avoid even low enemies because I'm I don't want to deal with this shit. It's so boring. Then you start a fight and everybody starts shooting and it's that's it. It's they start shooting. And then once in a while, randomly an A pops up, you have to do it, else you won't heal enough if you do this shit, whatever, But I feel with X2, you go into a combat, you equip these blades, you make sure what element is correct, you perform combos with your teammates, you have to interact this, you have to do these movements, you have these trigger things, and then you have to adjust in button cards, you have to adjust and calculate and do shit, and it is way more interactive and intuitive than it is with X. It's hard to explain, but X is boring to fight.
I will. I'm gonna throw some gasoline on this fire because I will say Xenoblade Chronicles 2. You said intuitive. I'll say a little easier for beginners to pick up on because
2? You think?
yeah.
I think it's Torna more than 2, but
Xenoblade Chronicles X, you said you're just shooting. You switch to your close range or your distance weapon. You could call your teammates would make calls if you perform that. If you had that art equipped that had that ability,
Yeah.
then you got bonus attack or bonus for that, and then they got their what the hell is that little green gauge called?
Are you talking about where you have to hit the B prompt when it comes up?
No, they would call, hey, whatever. I can't even remember the weapon class or the classes, and you'd have an art that had that class, and that'd help get their. What was the gauge called that everybody
the party
had?
gauge?
No.
Oh, damn it! It wouldn't call that.
For
Each person had a little green gauge, and once that hit, then you could do like I don't know if it was overdrive or.
It's team overdrive you could do.
No, but each character has a little green bar that filled up before each battle.
That's just their affinity.
No, it had to do with the moves you could do, and like more powerful moves if you had a full.
Oh goddamn! So you have an advantage because you just got through playing. So I don't.
Yeah, it starts with.
I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what it was called.
Tension. Your tension points.
Yeah, there we go.
Your TP.
And then you could do.
God damn it!
You had arts that required tension points that were more powerful, and then you had a combo system based on your. I don't know if it was skills. You know, it's been a couple years since I was playing this like fully.
So you had to basically spam arts that build CP.
Yep, and then once
tension points were the same thing that were in the original Xenoblade Chronicles too, because you had to build tension points so you could do these quote unquote moves or whatever, or build evasion.
There was arts that use tension points.
Yes, exactly.
And then if you triggered a combo, which you had to have certain things equipped to have even combos work, then it would automatically fill your tension or your tension gauge again. And then there was combos that worked off of a melee attack. If you did 3 melee attacks, then you got like 500% damage, and it was just like it was so in depth, but it wasn't easily, or they didn't explain it early in the game, or I think I actually had looked up some of that stuff, but it wasn't well explained in the game. It was basically for those that really wanted to take a deep dive. So I would say that is a negative, that it wasn't clearly explained. And
but it's not just like that is not clearly explained. Like I said, it's hard to put it into words for me, but I feel like in a very blatant way to say it really dumb, I feel if I combat in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I start the combat, okay, there's a button, I got a trigger, I got to look what my teammate's doing, I activate their combo, I react to that, I change my blade, I feel like I'm doing shit. And I feel with X, I swear, when I started playing a little while ago, the fight was so annoying and boring. I put my fucking controller down and I won. It's like I don't have to do as much in it.
This is what you're missing in X. So you could have, and I had one of the worst blades that you can use for that scenario because I had the rifle / longsword, which is the worst one you can do for that because you have to get like a very specific weapon for both your longsword and a very specific weapon for your rifle to be able to do any of this shit. But you use your rifle to build up TP. And then once you do that, you do Samurai Soul. And then once you do Samurai Soul, that builds up your TP for the next couple of rounds. And then all of your attacks after that build up TP and ether. So if any enemy that you're fighting is weak to ether, everything does extra elemental damage to whatever the fuck they're weak to. So I would do I would do Samurai Soul. And then after that, I do, incendiary edge or what have you if they were weak to fire or whatever, and the shit would fucking murk them within a couple of seconds. So you would take whatever ability they were weak to and you would rip them asunder pretty quickly.
And it's funny because I have the exact opposite, where Xenoblade Chronicles 2 to me just got so routine where I was just kind of mentally checking out even though I was dominating these battles. Whereas Xenoblade Chronicles X, I just felt like I had to be more aware of what was going on and actually think more. And then 2 is just kind of just looking at my little gauge around the art when that filled up, and I just trigger my one right after the other, and I actually got more bored with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 combat. That's why I didn't really play it much after I beat it. And X only got better and better for me. So we're at complete opposite ends on,
yeah, but I'll say,
because
I'm the opposite. I found 2's combat way more engaging. I felt like that's what made me want to go out of my way and set up the affinity charts for all my characters, and that's what made me want to mess around with Poppy Swap and doing all that other stuff. Because for me, it was a constant. Okay, well, I got to make sure my characters, their blades have elements that complement my character's elements. Because you have one of this, it doesn't sync up as well. Like, for example, like for ground-based ones. Well, if you look at this, because the skill tree doesn't change, it's just whichever direction you want to go. You got to have someone who at least has like lightning or fire or wind, and it's not like every element is represented on every other element's skill tree. So I was constantly finding and changing out blades to see what worked and what didn't work, and then each blade has their own ability, skills.
And on top of that, like whatever you chose with that, you could still after that still like combine it in specific combos, the combo trees and that kind of shit, depending on which order you use which element and everything. And that is what I mean, where it reminds me of Batten Kaitos so much, where you're thinking so much more when you're battling. It keeps you invested into what you're doing.
So in two, it is mandatory to complete the affinity tree before your character / blade is really effective, right? Whereas
I would say, because some people have beaten the game with their characters.
You got to be at least S1 before you're effective in the end game. Whereas in X, all you have to have is certain equipment, and your quote unquote blade or
I would say
X
doesn't require you to get good.
Yes, you just have to know what the setups are and what the armor types are and what enemy you're fighting. So if you're fighting an enemy that's high reflect, and if you're reflect immune or what have you, and you have that on all your characters, then you're good to go. Whereas I don't even think there's a reflect immune inside of Xenoblade Chronicles 2 at all. Like there's a reflect for you, but there isn't a null reflect.
Yeah, there is.
Say.
It's but
it's only
you're talking about the core chips that you can put on the blades.
There's a core chip, but there isn't one for each set of equipment that you have.
Oh no,
you know what I'm saying?
No.
So if you receive a certain type of damage, are you like if you receive reflect damage, like you attack somebody and they reflect damage on you, is your equipment reflecting damage back on them? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I will give you guys
a percentage. That's the difference.
I don't know if it's elemental combo system in X2 or not. Yeah. Is Xenoblade 2? It took me the longest time. I had no idea what I saw a prompt come up. I'm like, what the fuck does this mean? Like, I had no idea. And I'm gonna say I didn't keep track, but it was past the 40-hour mark before I finally like figured it out and got it all the way to the end. But once I figured it out and I just had equipped the right blades to make the one I wanted, like to start with water or whatever, and or start with Pyra and have the next path that takes me till I can get the final. What was the final end of the combo called? Where there's just a quick.
Oh, you mean like the end of the chain attack?
Was that a chain attack?
I keep fucking up my terminology.
No, I don't think it was called the chain attack.
It was
there's just a quick little cutscene, and then they do like a superpower.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
If you had that blade powered up to level 3 or whatever, because that's what I didn't get, because the first one, level 1 or whatever, starts it. The next element, if it's a dark, you had to be level powered up to 2 for that art for it to work, and the next one had to be 3+, And it was cool figuring that out, and I do like that. But once I did, and I just had my blades equipped, I was just doing that every single battle, and it was just to me, it lost the strategic element. I was just pulling it off every time, and then kind of the end of about 80 hours in, they teach you the final mechanic related to Pyra and Mithra. And I mean, this is spoiler territory, but I don't know how far Retro is. So
Retro, we have to say, what chapter are you on, Retro?
I don't know chapter wise where I'm on. I know I got Mithra for a while now, It's so stupid because like I like Pyra a lot better, but Mithra is so much stronger, so I don't see the point in playing with Mithra unless I need fire somehow and shit. But
Do you have the ability to switch between them?
yeah, I just got that like not that
Okay,
long
so
ago.
I won't
You're
spoil it.
that's probably chapter 5 or 6 then.
I think at least 6 what I've seen. Maybe
Yeah, I won't
Have you been to
spoil
Zeke?
it.
Have you been to Zeke's play? Have you been to the snow area yet?
I don't think so.
No, you're probably in chapter near the end of chapter 5 then.
See, like, if I was only that far along, I was really enjoying it. And then, like I said, once I got everything kind of figured out, then that's when it started just getting, every battle was the same routine for me with that.
I guess in that's the difference between me and Juice, where Juice, I don't know how, did you play much after you beat 2, or was it kind of like you beat 2 and you were done?
I know that I maxed out my affinity chart for a lot of my blades, and I think I did that before I did the final battle. But there was I want to say like a 40-hour period where I just didn't even focus on anything story related and just worked on infinity charts. Because that was my biggest drive other than the cutscenes, because I like having something like that to complete. And that's why I like the new Tomb Raider game so much, because each area's got like a percentage of completion meter. God of War has some similar stuff. I like that in game. So that if it wasn't for the infinity charts, I probably would have beat 2, I would say probably under 70 hours and probably been done with it. Like that was a big thing for me.
Just what's my wife doing? I'm sorry.
See, that might be the difference, because for me, I didn't do as much as far as completing the affinity charts. I didn't do that until I beat the game. And when I beat the game, when I went back and grinded for all the rare blades, and then I went back and grinded and tried to complete all the affinity charts. And for me, because I also went back and fought the super bosses, that's what kind of drove me to get better at the combat system.
So did nobody S+ before beating the game?
No, I didn't S+ any of my blades.
Shit.
S+ is such a grind without.
No, I think I did. I did on a couple.
Really?
You got to at least do it on Mithra.
Yeah, I did a couple.
I didn't get S+ on Mithra until way.
It should be automatic on Mithra.
No, I didn't get S+ until way later. Now, to be fair, Mithra was one of the first ones I S+ with.
This is why I'm able to make the fucking the comparison between X and Torna / Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Where does it even tell you that?
You can't S+ is a hitting thing. Like you'll hit S.
But where does it tell you?
It tells you what level. It says S1, S2, S3,
yeah,
and then once you get S9, then S+ is after.
Oh, it tells you in the status screen, like when you're switching out the cores for each rare blade.
Just hit the right button and it'll tell you what offender.
So if I click on if I click on Pyra, does it tell me?
It'll tell you.
Press the right button and it'll tell you what affinity level.
Yeah, the R trigger.
No, that switches characters.
Yes. Well, no, it should
right S4
button.
Sorry, that's not plus. Then I'm S4 with Pyra.
Yeah.
But Mithra and Pyra have different tiers. If I remember.
After S9 is S+.
Okay, well, I thought S+ was after the next one after S.
And the episode, I figured
literally the highest damage you could do with that character.
Yeah, that's the reason. That's part of the reason why I had to do it, is because especially for some of the challenge mode fights and especially some of the super bosses, you have to be S+ to take advantage of all the damage they can do.
And like Bromo Akuma said, it's easy in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 versus anything in X. Because in X, you have to know what the equipment setup is and all the other kind of stuff to get those type of damage outputs in X. Like you have to do more work in X than you have to do in 2. So I just want that to be said.
Well, yeah, and he's right, because you can also throw them into those Merc missions to raise their affinity. Because
you don't even have to work; just send them off the Merc.
Yeah, I did that too, and that again, it's just kind of a. It's almost it's a positive and a negative at the same time. It's positive because it lets you do that, and it's a good way to do it. But it's kind of
similar to MMOs. If you played it
out of it, like because you're not with them as they're on their mission, so it's just they come back and they give you the same phrase every time.
For me, it was like because that I was saying, you don't.
I thought Bromo was leaving the stream.
I didn't have to because I didn't have to S+. When I hit the super bosses and I started trying those out because I saw people on YouTube doing it, I was like, well, damn, these are still killing me. Like, you think you're pretty powerful at the end of the game. Get them bosses, it's like, damn, what the hell am I supposed to do? And then that's what made me want to look up and get better at trying to play the game and see.
What's that dude name? That's 130. Tyranno, whatever his name. What's his name?
You're talking about the damn. It's like in that crater.
Practice on his ass like all day. Tyranno, whatever his name is.
You talking about in the crater? You have to go down.
You gotta have like level 5 everything to unlock the little cloud that's in front of him.
It's such a pain.
I practice on him like a motherfucker.
But it's one of those things that once you figure out what you need to do and you use it in a fight and you beat them, it's so fucking rewarding.
Automatic topple.
And it's not like I couldn't do those things in X, but to me, X it was more of a struggle to survive kind of thing.
So in X,
which to be fair, works with the theming of the game, but still.
In X, you need a legendary blade though. So in X, you gotta go and you gotta fucking farm the legendary items, both the attack weapon, whether you're gonna be a lancer, a broadsword, or a rifle, or whatever. You gotta farm that type of gold weapon, all right? Whatever the high damage weapon is for that character, you gotta farm it for a specific character that's off in, I don't even know what the name of the fucking place is. I think in the Sand Town, I think. Oblivion. So you gotta farm that from that fucking tiger or whatever the fuck that damn animal is or whatever. So you farm whatever item you need from there, and then you farm all your armor or whatever from the giant tree dude inside of either Noctilum or Civilum, one of the two. So whatever giant tree dude you can find in Noctilum or Civilum, you farm the armor from them, and then that's what you're going to end up doing to be the quote unquote badass in Xenoblade Chronicles X. So in 2 and X, you got to go certain places to get all the stuff that you need to beat end bosses and beat the super bosses or whatever repeatedly over and over and over again. And once you're able to do that, you can do the challenge modes, or you can beat fucking in X, you would be trying to fight Telethia over and over and over again or whatever. And in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, you'd be doing challenge mode against Elma or whoever the fuck else you want to kill. I mean, you just have to build your status up or whatever to be able to afford to be able to take that type of damage whenever you like the one fight against the 6th Armor Brigade or whatever it was, where you got to fight the Tyrannosaur 2 times and then there's all kind of people bombing you at the same time or whatever. That's fucking ridiculous. But you basically make your evasion is so high they're not touching you.
Let's focus. As someone who didn't go that far beyond,
here's
let's focus on some of the actual.
What's one thing you think of the game that you don't like, you like less than? Like, for example, for me, it would be, what's one thing in X that I think does better than 2? And I can say mine's right off the bat. I think X has better side missions.
Yes.
Granted, I think the reason is because the story is underwhelming in X, but that doesn't take away from the fact that I think X has way better side missions.
Yes.
I think there's a cool tree line where like a character is trying to find another friend of his who has gotten lost on the planet, and then you end up in this like water, like they're trying to create water for the town. It's like this little mini water plant, and then you go in there and they're dark. Like one of them was like, you get into the water plant and they're trying to purify the water and test the water. They think the water's fine, and then people have started drinking the water and turned into these creatures. And then your part is now you have to kill those people, and it's like, damn. But see,
there were some pretty cool stories.
I was emotionally connected to those characters because it was like, because it wasn't like one full mission. It was like, you got to find the guy. You find the guy. Well, they're together in the city now. Cool. Well, they're working on the water plant, and it would build slowly into it. And I was like, and once you hit it, and you get to that ending of that quest line, I'm like, that shit's great. Whereas Xenoblade 2's quests were all go fight these monsters and kill it, run back, go kill something else, run back, grab an item. Now Torna has good side missions, but that doesn't help X. X2 as a base game has pretty boring ass fetch quests or kill all the enemies. So that's my thing. So I give X 100% credit on that. They have great fucking side missions.
I kind of disagree with that. Just to build off that, what I like about X2 is like a lot of the side missions.
They do have some good ones.
You're like emotionally invested, like stuff when you do for the blades. Each blade has their own side quest, and those, all that kind of stuff. And when I'm playing X, like people are like, oh, it's like what you said. Oh, find me 5 of these parts, and then you're randomly fucking running around like Sonic with less story, basically, hoping you get the right item out of one of these crystals, and that's
That
most of
didn't
the
happen
side
in
missions.
side quests, though.
So let me counteract that one, right? So you do the affinity quest for that blade, whatever, right? In Xenoblade Chronicles X, you watch a fucking town get built, or you watch a water refinery plant literally get built. Like you fly over there and they're building and working on different parts of that space. And then by the time you're done, you fly down there, you're like, hey, we still got this one dude we need to kill in here. And then you go in there, you kill dude or buddy or whatever his name is or whatever. And then they're able to do water filtration there. Like that's happening real time inside the game, in the game world. And that doesn't really happen in 2 like that. Now, I know that they have pre-staged stories or whatever for each character, but you don't get to see the world built other than, like, say, in what's the name of the town of Uriah or whatever, the little camp. Like, that builds up, but you don't really get to see anything else build like that. Like, the only thing close to that you see is what Monolith also helped with was the town that they built inside of Breath of the Wild. So the little town that builds up outside of, I guess south of the town that you frequent the most or whatever, that town grows and it builds as you bring whatever features you need to inside of Breath of the Wild. I can't even name it, but it's the one that you farm your shield from. Like you can go there and you can reclaim your shield if it breaks. You're healing your shield.
Oh, but real quick, I just want to say something because the whole blade quest, I think is right. The blades themselves are great in X2, but the way I never looked at the blade quests as side missions. I looked at those as like development for the blades. Like to me, here's my thing. I think X has better side missions. I think 2 has better characters though, and that includes the blades.
I will admit
that's
that.
what I said.
I will admit that 2's characters are more impressionable. I will admit that.
That's what I just said, though. But that's like you just now don't want to call them side missions because then you're gonna agree with what I said. Where it's side missions and X2,
I would say so. Look, the side missions are better in X, but the characters are better in 2.
You guys say
I'm willing to say that.
I'm gonna need more.
That's my thought process.
I'm guessing
more arguments in that because I heard like 3 people now say the same thing, that the side missions are better in X, but you all described building a power plant. It's not like any other game didn't build cities or whatever, but you're still doing that.
Well, I mean, I'm just comparing the 2
and finding shit.
I mean, you gotta remember,
anything
dude,
else.
when X2 came out, before I did New Game Plus, I did every main mission, every main side quest in the game. I've done most of them, and most of them devolve into killing shit or finding a specific item, whether it's like a fruit or a vegetable, whatever, and giving it back to a person. And the only thing that makes those quests hard is that sometimes they're in areas that I can't, I'm not aware of, which I will give. I know technically X has a more, some people would argue it has a more unique world, and that's fine. I think X2 has a lot more nooks and crannies, which I found through the side missions. But that doesn't take away from the fact that the basis of the side mission is still, I need to kill these turkin, or I need to go grab this piece of cabbage for this cooking. It's not like there are some standout missions in X2, but there are way better ones, like the fucking alien one where the spaceship is over over New LA and X. And there's a bunch of different side missions in there that are cool.
The fact that shit appears there and stays, to me, is like the biggest.
Because they mention all the different alien races, but in the main story, you don't see all of them.
And that shit's in RAM. Like you fly away and you come back, and that shit's there. Like it doesn't.
I can appreciate X just has better highs. And
I thought it was a main story thing, though.
No, that wasn't a main story thing.
It happened after one of the chapters.
It's a side story.
It's
and the same thing happens with the other guy you meet. That like you have the fucking Back to the Future reference, and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna go to the past and I'm gonna fucking figure out this shit or whatever." And he start acting like Doc in Back to the Future or whatever. He got the fucking car and everything, and you would not even know any of this if you hadn't beat the game. So it's like, I don't know what it is, but it's like all the characters, all the side characters that you can add to your posse, if you will, are like on 10 after you beat the game. Even the main villain, when you get to chapter 10 at the end of the game or whatever, he has more shit before you beat the game. If you decide to go and do it or whatever, you understand exactly what he's going through before he gets to chapter 10.
I think, my biggest issue with X is with that stuff is that its side missions are great, but I think the main story suffers because of it. Because that shit's optional, you would never know unless you were the type to do all that shit beforehand. So like people's initial experience with the game, unless you were told before you played it, go do all the side shit, it kind of hurts the general. I think honestly, X could have been like twice as long and been a better game for it personally. But I think because of how the story is, how only parts of the main story is you have to do, it makes the side missions great, but it takes away from the main story.
That's fair. And I will, if you want to count the blades as side missions, then I'm gonna have to. That's gonna be a strike against 2 for me because.
But that's the gotcha. That's a gotcha system. Apparently, I don't know what you call that, but this apparently some Japanese name talking about.
Wait, what? Say the character again.
It gotcha, and that's supposed to be.
No.
Let me finish. Was it the Dahlia or whatever?
Oh, the rabbit girl.
Yeah, she's the orb inner.
That blade mission made me never want to do another blade mission. It was so bad. It was worse than anything I've.
To be fair, Dahlia's is one of the more annoying ones. I will.
Yeah. But then a lot of the other ones are bad too. If you don't realize that, hey, you can go ahead and fucking send them on side missions and they could do all the shit for you.
I think the blade quest you still have to do.
Yeah, it depending on who the blade is. Like, so
there are some bad ones.
You have to do the majority of them.
I've done all of them except for like
once Nia becomes a blade. Excuse me, spoilers. Fucking deal with it.
How dare you? That's such a big one, though.
Look, man, look. She becomes a fucking blade, and you got to do her side missions.
Hey, should we point out a fact that today's December 1st, 2018?
Yes, which is why I'm drinking anyway.
I've been literally liking pictures on Twitter all day.
It's 1 year anniversary for Xenoblade Chronicles.
1 year anniversary, and Mithra got fucking leggings. Let's get it.
You were so weak.
So let me talk about something.
Yeah, go ahead, Juice. You haven't told me one.
This one isn't necessarily which one I like better, but I think it's going to be controversial in that I think some of the major side characters in Xenoblade Chronicles X are on par, and maybe even one of them I like better than any one blade in 2. But I think they both have a great selection of different types of characters. So. My favorite in X was they're like half tiger, half human.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one you
that's really fucking good.
Yeah, I showed her.
You never had to meet, if I remember correctly.
You don't get to add her to your team, which I think is a huge misstep.
But they're so angry, Jesus.
But her design is like just one of my favorite designs of a character I've seen in a long time. Celica looks like I love her design. But I like a lot of the blade designs too, so I'm going to give them both a compliment and get them. I say they're both on the same level when it comes to designing secondary characters. You know, X obviously doesn't have the main character you create. You know, it doesn't have the personality people like. But I made a pretty awesome. Getting what Retro said earlier, I made a pretty awesome character that I can make look, 1,000 different ways with gear and stuff. And I don't think it gets enough credit for. I know a lot of people are like, well, there's no dialogue. It's not a character. It's not Shulk. It's not Rex. I don't like this.
Well, but I understood from the beginning. I would say the main character was Mira. It wasn't you. It wasn't Elma. It was Mira. And once I understood that, everything made sense for me. So
Elma was a pretty awesome character.
She was good.
I would say my biggest issue. I think my biggest issue is that of the main characters you have to have, which is Elma, Lynn, and I guess Tatsu to a lesser degree. The clear winner was fucking Elma. Whereas like when you first start Xenoblade 2, your first 2 characters are Nia and Tora. I know people have their issues with Tora. Tora to me by default is better than fucking Tatsu, who literally literally used for eating jokes.
Pretty much.
Oh fucking
Lynn is like, I'm gonna fucking eat you, bro.
And
it was funny. Almost every joke still kind of was funny for me.
Really,
So
I got burnt out halfway through it.
Yeah, that shit was.
But I would say definitely almost a standout, which is why she's in the better game. Side note, but Lynn is pretty indifferent. I think Nia is a better character. I think Nia is vastly a better character. Nia arguably is the best main character you get. And then you have Morag and Zeke you get later on in the game, and it's like,
yeah, Morag's definitely my favorite.
Like Morag's pretty fucking good.
And it's not like I have anything against characters like Doug and what's her name?
There was a couple pretty.
There's a few good ones.
Celica and Murderous were really fucking good.
Murderous
was
I
really
like
good.
Murderous, but my issue was that you never needed. I guess because the difference is X made you use rotate between the 5 characters you got. That was it. Versus X giving you so many that unless you cared enough, you would never use. I think that's my issue. Is that I also think it hurts the story because I don't care as much when some of these side characters are in those cutscenes and I didn't use them in the game yet. So it's like, my opinion on how much.
Do we do the disclaimer already? The disclaimer is both Xenoblade Chronicles X and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 are really fucking good games. You should probably play both of them. I don't know.
I think
Retro would disagree.
No,
I don't disagree in the way that I understand why a lot of people like X. Is like I said, like I just can't. I get bored with it so much and shit. But a big part of that, and it's stupid. Like, and Terrell would understand it at least. A big part of that is the anime culture. Like, I'm really deep into that too. So I already have more affinity to X2 when it comes to the world. The type of world, the type of characters that are in it, compared to like with X, where you have like, well, you were talking about characters and shit, but like X has not a lot of characters, and most of them are so fucking annoying or just empty. Like the Tatsu is from X, I think that one.
Yeah, Tatsu.
Yes, Tatsu is from
annoying.
X.
You have Lin, who's fucking annoying. You have like the only one I kind of like, but he never really does say a lot, is like the guy with the long hair. I think he's really cool. He's one of my favorites probably in the game. And then
you mean the devil?
No, I don't know. Like one of the good guys you can play with.
L is the devil.
No, is that the one who doesn't look like a human?
Yeah, he's like alien.
No, I don't mean him. That's like an actual guy you can have in the beginning. I think he has.
I know what you're talking about.
Like, I think he has long hair and shit.
I know what you're talking about.
Cool
we can't
but
talk
then you have
about
another guy, like random soldier design number 1. You have random soldier design number 2, like main characters and shit. The one character I kind of really liked also in X, he's also in X2. So what the fuck does it matter then? It's like the Van Damme guy, but he's also in 2, just in a different iteration of it and shit.
Oh yeah, just because they both have the same name. Oh shit.
Yeah, like he has the same design and everything. He just lasted longer in X, but he was cooler in X2 and shit. So
there were some characters that at first I was like, oh, that's stupid. But then you add them to your party, and then like you do affinity, and like there's like this older. He was like one of our higher ranking guys, and for whatever reason I can't remember, he has a reason to join your party, and I was like, man, I hated the guy from the cutscenes and stuff, but then once I added him and actually used him and leveled him up, I was like, man, like
he's kind of like
actually pretty cool.
He's kind of like Murderous. Murderous was introduced the same way. She's a fucking asshole until you play.
Oh, she's fucking awesome, and then you understand why she's such a bitch.
Yeah, it's the same thing. The difference is that in X2, that's the blades. Like if you don't like a blade, you can just switch out a blade and get another one. Whereas like in X, it was the characters, and the problem I had was more so because it was the blades. I was more interested to see them, but like I said, like you were mentioning earlier, just like you didn't care for Dahlia, and I'll agree. Dahlia has a kind of a annoying mission, primarily due to a certain section in the mission you got to do.
Little girl.
Yeah. Where I think there's a section where you have to talk to a Nopon. And it's like either you freeze them to get the information you want, or you feed him a bunch, and they're both pain in the asses to do. You need to have a bunch of ice blades to do the field skill, or you have to feed him like for a while to get him full enough to tell you the information. Shit drags. It's a bad side mission, especially considering you have to do it to finish your chart.
About the characters, for example, you have like everybody in X is the same. Everybody is like from the ship, and everybody wants to.
They are kind of the same.
They're the same, but they're different.
There are aliens.
Yeah, no,
you get a lot of aliens.
What the fuck they were before they got there?
But listen, you have like everybody has like minor traits, whatever and shit, and for most of the game. But in X2, you have like for example, Rex with his own different backstory, what he is, like with his grandpa, with his salvaging, whatever and shit. Then you have Nia, who was like working with the enemy.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Everybody has
I'm gonna
so
disagree
much.
with that though.
I think
Oh,
yeah,
because
I'm gonna disagree with that.
But
I'm gonna disagree with that.
Like, let me talk about that because like this is nothing you can't disagree on. Everybody in X2 has a life. Everybody in X comes out of the ship once we build the world. There is nothing
not
to
true.
disagree on with that.
That's so false, dude.
So the difference
If you're
between
ignoring the aliens,
2,
that's part of the issue.
the difference between 2 and X is 2 is here are these new people. This is their backstory. This is what they want to do. X is like, look, this is what the fuck I used to be on Earth. This is who I am now that I'm changed and I'm confined to this little experience or whatever because we can't leave outside of New LA. Like people are completely different because they're on New LA versus how they were
But
on
that's
Earth.
if you're talking about the human characters and
Yeah,
not
you
the
have a bunch of
aliens
alien
that you
characters you
team
can
up with.
include.
Like that's, I mean, yeah, I would say the majority. I don't know what the split is, but my party when I had Celica, Alma's not. She was helping the humans, but she's not human.
Yeah.
She didn't have that storyline. And then there was a couple
yeah,
others.
but I've come enough to the story where like she's not human. Oh, it's interesting, but nobody, like the story was.
Yeah, but when you say everybody's just come from Earth,
okay,
that's
let me put it
factually
this.
wrong.
Let me put it this way. Then
The majority, I would say the majority.
in X2, you meet people, and from the start, everybody has a story, a design. Everybody comes from a place. And like I said, with Nia's an example. Like you have Rex, who's like the main guy, and Nia, she's like she used to work with the enemy. She's conflicted with what she's doing. Blah blah. You start X, everybody is the same, and then from there on, if you play long enough into specific missions, you might get to know more about them. Where from X2, everybody is completely different from the start already. Everybody
Okay, I get that point. I get that point. From his perspective, I get that point. Because there's so much you don't know until you get to the end game of X. It's almost like the average person that only plays for 80 hours or so, they're not going to get that out of like the things that we know about X are so, how can I say this? Are so extreme to the average person that has played the game that we can't, like our experience kind of doesn't count. And the reason why I say that is because like the average person can play through Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and they know from jump Pyra is who she's supposed to be. Like 40 hours later, Mithra is who she's supposed to be, and you know who all the bad guys are and what the main story is supposed to be and what they're trying to do. Like within 40 hours, you know that. In X, you don't know that until 120, almost 200 hours plus.
I disagree with that.
I wouldn't even say
you think so? Like
I would
say I think
even Celica, like you don't know none of her shit until
the difference is that 2's characters are more distinct and they're thrown in your face, whereas X's you got to go out of your way to an extent to get those characters.
I would say the X's almost had like the like blade quests, but with side characters that weren't your blades. Like the blue guy with like the horns, I forget his name.
I think he's literally
he ends up with a shop where you can buy upgrades or something. But you don't have to beat the game for that to happen. Celica, you don't have to beat the game. It's just what you did first. Did you do a bunch of side quests? Did you do missions with your characters? And I think everybody's forgetting the villain characters or the non-party member characters that X had. And I remember like I said, that race of tiger humans. I wish I could remember what they were called.
Yeah, because the way you get those into New LA is through a side mission. You don't even have to. You may go through the whole game and never even interact. I think
they're part of one of the main missions. Is when you're getting.
I thought they were a side mission. I could have swore
you're forced to fight them in a mech battle.
Yeah, you got to fight them, and then you go back and kind of you have as a side mission you have to battle them to kind of prove that you're worthy. I think you spare their life or something.
They won't let you into their camp until you beat them and civil them, and then
there was the villain. There's the female with like she had like tentacles or something. She was really cool.
Everybody.
Yeah, there were some really cool characters, but I just think they're the good characters from each game, and I thought it was kind of a pro for each game. But I don't think X gets enough credit. Obviously, Retro doesn't doesn't give it any credit. I think they had some really cool.
I'm fair.
Character
I try to be
designs.
fair to X because I think
Hey,
X,
now that's something different. Character design compared, and even then, actually, I would agree with that. Character
but
design
you
learn.
is not that good.
So as far as reveals, Chapter 5 in Xenoblade Chronicles X, how did everybody feel about that?
about the
The moment that you realize, okay,
Oh.
shit is different.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
I
not,
don't know much if I can say, but like I said, I don't know exactly what chapter I'm at and
if
everything.
you got to that.
If you, I'm about to say, if you got a
I think
scale
he's
and
got
you
to that.
Yeah,
That's
if you
just
got-
where the people aren't.
you find out the people aren't.
That's when Lynn falls down and gets hurt.
No, it was
No,
your,
your
Oh,
main
you're talking about
character
X
your
now.
character who happens to.
Oh, an
Well,
X.
yeah, but
okay.
but Lynn mentions it though.
No, but I'm saying the moment
Chapter 5 is where you get hurt, and then she has to tell you how you survived.
Yeah,
because-
Yep.
like you
because
get
of-
into a position where you shouldn't have lived, and then you lived, and it's like, oh, well, it's because that's not really your body.
Well, we can spoil it. I mean, it's fucking 5
No,
years.
I know that
Yeah.
I knew. I've been there.
Like,
Yeah,
it was
yeah,
like
that's
jump
what
off
we were
this
talking
fucking
about,
cliff.
retro.
It
I
won't
say
hurt you.
I would say retro. If you had a scale, you've already passed that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I thought you were talking about X2. That's why I got confused. So we
No,
were
no,
talking
no,
about X,
no,
so yeah,
No,
no,
the
no.
fact that you're
There's no X2 yet.
basically
We
you're
would love to
Ghost
see
in the
one.
Shell. It's like Ghost in the Shell.
The thing-
Your consciousness is in
It's
a
a cool,
robotic body.
I think it's a cool reveal. I enjoyed it. I don't really. It didn't change. The problem is it doesn't change much. Once you know it, it doesn't. The only thing it does is that now it makes sense why I can defy the laws of physics.
No, what changes it is the fucking mission that you end up doing with the girl that gives you all your missions, and you find out who the fuck she is. That's really fucking scary.
And it gives
But
you the
that's-
whole purpose of finding your actual bodies. Gives you some
Yeah.
driving
Oh,
force.
right.
If we're just talking about the reveal, it almost like bothered me. And like I don't always want to hate on it. I'm just being honest here. Like when they revealed that, I was like, oh great. So there's actually no danger to my character whatsoever because it's not my actual character, it's just like a substitute robot or whatever. Like I did not like that reveal. It came
Okay.
out of nowhere.
It came out of nowhere.
That's for sure. But like made me feel like my character wasn't that much in danger. It was like whatever. It removed a lot of that angst of the world, I guess, because of, great. It's just some kind of RoboCop knockoff immortal thing that you just whatever. So I don't know.
Damn.
But after
will
that, it
say-
told you don't have that much time left though.
Yeah, that is true, but like that the time aspect doesn't change the fact whether they're robots or humans. Like that is the same thing. It's just it like I said, it's less dangerous knowing that I know it doesn't influence the gameplay, but in my mind it becomes less dangerous for my character now because like it's not my character anyway. It's a substitute robot, whatever the fuck, like okay, sure. So if there's less time or more time, that doesn't change the fact that I don't know. I thought like it made the world less dangerous. I feel.
And I'm gonna say another controversial thing that X doesn't get credit for. And I'm not talking about story interactions between characters. I'm talking about the main plot of the game, the main purpose of the game, the overarching story idea. To me, it's not even close.
Cause allow. Yeah.
X is just the whole concept of you had to flee Earth because of this random alien showed up, destroyed Earth. You crash land on this planet. You have to explore the planet and try to find your human bodies. And that whole sci-fi element, there's a sci-fi element in Chronicles 2, but to me, I like the idea of the Titans. I thought that was cool, but then once you figure out what the world tree is and how everything happened, it's just it must be the anime part that gets me. It's just so over the top and just ridiculous. Like I just didn't even care once I found out the end.
I actually wrote that
let me-
down
let
as
me-
one of my plus point. I'll just say that because I don't have many of them. Like I wrote that down as one of my plus point for X that I wanted to mention. It is the setting I like, and it does. We're just talking about the first 5 minutes of the game. I loved the idea of the world being in so much fucking war because these alien races that was so powerful that you just had to send people out because everybody was going to be gone, and that they crash land. Like I said, the setting I thought was absolutely amazing, and that's why I started playing the game.
So do you,
I'm gonna-
retro? Have you played Torna at all?
No, because I'm not going to play Torna
Okay.
until I finish X2.
So
Well,
you're gonna have a completely different perspective if you play New Game Plus, after playing Torna, like fucking everything makes sense. And I don't know how to explain
You're
that.
talking to me probably because I'm the one that said I don't care about the story.
And I don't want to defend too because that's not my job here. I'm supposed to defend X, but
let me
Terrell then.
let me say this before. This is what I'll say about that. I think the way I view X's stories, I think X had higher potential than 2 did, but I don't think but 2 went as far as it could to realize its potential, whereas I don't think X went as far as it could have. And that's not saying X's story is bad. I'm saying I don't think the story hit as high as it could have.
Maybe it could have done,
because I feel like it could have done more.
A few more higher points, but as far as just the overall plot from beginning to end was up my alley. And 2
chapter 10 was like the beginning of the story to me. I didn't even attempt to try to say that was the completion of Xenoblade Chronicles X story. So,
and I like.
Well, I think that's my problem. I think that's my problem. That there was like I was saying before, you could have made X's story twice as long, and I would have had no issues with it.
Let me just ask you this: would you have felt? I feel like X left it open for what they did with 2 with the
interpretation.
With the DLC, a planned expansion would have made. I think would have been better in X because it would have continued on. And I just like with Breath of the Wild's expansion was the disappointing part was it wasn't a continuation, but now it's just more of the current game. I would have liked something after the game. And Xenoblade Chronicles 2 left it where I was like, oh, this could be cool for some post after you beat the game. There's actually they kind of set it up that could be cool. And then now they go back to prequel land and I just that wasn't that interesting to me.
Did you play all of Elma's Affinity Quest though? Like,
oh yeah.
So all she's doing is making Xenoblade Chronicles X valid. Because she's giving backstory for everything that happened in X and saying, hey, this is equivalent to what happens here. And I remember on Mirror, this happened versus what you guys are dealing with here. And she's talking about the quote unquote, we know who the fuck the Nopon was. But anyway, the Nopon in X's universe is conversing with the Nopon in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. And they're conversing or whatever. And we already know what the connection is there. But the fact that Elma is an additional character in DLC there, I think that kind of did way more than what X's entire story did, to be honest with you, to explain where they are there. And it looks like it's going to be a parallel to what the architects started.
I feel like I'm in a similar line of thinking. I feel like X's story was only kind of getting started, and I think that's part of my issue with it is that I don't feel like I got to see as much as I feel like the game was teasing me with. Especially, it's like how my issue with some of the side missions are. That I love the side missions, but I wish they were part of the main story, so they would have gotten more focus on. Because I think that's I don't like the fact that that's optional because I feel like that would have added to the world building. That to me, meeting those tiger people, although you do some main story stuff with them, they should have been more involved in the main plot, like the other alien races are. And I feel like that's what kind of hurts X's story for me. That it's like you have this really cool setup, and you give me this really it's like literally the movie. It's like the first 30 minutes of the movie is fucking amazing, and then the other half is like. And then the movie stops after those 30 minutes. That's how I kind of feel about X. You give me a really good 30 minutes, and then it's just over. And I'm like, well, what the fuck?
Do you think that maybe they were thinking they were going to possibly do DLC for it, but just because the Wii U...
Well, yeah. I mean, that could be the case. But my issue now, the point is that it never came out.
Yeah.
That's what hurts it. It's like I said. It's like X has great shit in it. But I feel like it doesn't go as long. I feel like that game could have been longer.
I would rather see... This is an easier way to say it. I'd rather see a movie based on X's story than a movie based on 2's story.
Okay, that's fair.
I can definitely say that.
That's fair, but it's only. I mean, granted, as an anime
there's more people involved.
And to be fair, as an anime fan, I enjoy X2's Xenoblade Chronicles 2's story structure and the way it's presented. But Xenoblade Chronicles 2's story, for the most part, like I said, you could have did post game with the whole after. Everything happens. I don't want to spoil it.
And that's one of the.
I'm going to say it like this. I think if X was a movie, it would have been much better.
Well, it has.
Yeah, like I said, because I think it has a better story premise. But I think too.
That's kind of where.
No, I just mean you would have gotten more out of it. I think you can't really make a story about X2, like I said, because there's so much character and all that shit. If you make one movie out of it, you're going to forget half of it.
Because Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I felt like took full advantage of everything it had. Whereas I feel like X barely scratched the surface in some aspects.
And
so I think X was intentionally fucking cryptic. With a lot of that
I
stuff,
wouldn't
I'm
say it was
like,
cryptic.
so is that fucking Ryan standing over that dude at the end, or is that Dunban? Like, I don't know.
Hey, stop.
Yeah, like we're really at that.
Don't do it. I know what you're doing. Don't do it.
I'm just saying that looks like a Xenoblade Chronicles 1 character standing over Lao at the end of that game is what I'm saying. And I'm trying to figure out how the fuck everybody is alive without being alive because there's nothing to keep them alive type.
Well, let's talk about
how dare you?
Spoilers. Somebody put it in the chat.
What do you feel about not just the design, but the enemies? I know Retro doesn't care about the combat in X, but as far as for me, when you encounter enemies, I mean, you fight the same style, same looking enemies a lot in either game, even in one, because of the little bit I played.
Yeah, they share a lot.
I think I played about 10 hours of one. But I felt like the enemies I was fighting were more memorable in X than the majority of them in 2. They were just, I don't know. I don't know if there was more of them in X. It just felt like the variety was better, and the ones you were fighting a lot were just more interesting looking, and whether that makes the battle system. I mean, it has nothing to do with battling them, but except you're fighting the same thing over and over.
Is there anybody on this call that had more than 120 hours in the original Xenoblade Chronicles?
No, I didn't play it once.
You did your affinity. I don't
think anybody had played it but me.
I played it,
okay.
but I didn't
even play it once.
I got maybe 9 to 10 hours into it.
Yeah,
I beat the game, did my naked Rhine affinity build, and then killed all the dinosaurs, and then went to the top of whatever the frozen glacier was and killed that level 190 monster or whatever. So I did all that.
As far as Juice's statement is concerned, I don't feel one way or the other. 2's enemies stick out to me more because I played it more recently, so I can't. Okay. I feel like I don't have a fair.
I would say,
opinion.
Especially the end of the game on 2, you're just fighting these Johnny number 5s, if you know that reference.
Mm-hmm.
Just fighting stupid things over and over.
Considering that's the only area in the game you fight them, I don't view that as a negative.
But even those, they're like significantly weaker than the other super bosses in the game, which is the same in the other Xenoblade Chronicles games. So, but
we need Shadow to keep it in the realm of people who
just
played the game and
you're like
going to that post game.
I know what you're talking about as far as Chronicles 2 is concerned, but like not everybody played Chronicles 2 post.
I'm just asking, do you feel the animal or what you're fighting in either game, the variety of them, the design of them, did you have a preference in the 2 games?
So my preference, if you talk about the variety and stuff like that, is probably going to lean more towards 2 versus X, to be honest with you. Because in X, it was like you're prone or you're the tigress or whatever type alien you are, and you don't really know anything because you don't understand anything to the end of the game. So
I'm just talking about you're fighting a brontosaurus versus you're fighting a bug in the sky, that type of stuff.
Oh, for Xenoblade Chronicles X
versus 2, because 2 I felt like I'm just fighting the animals. The designs of them felt less inspired, and the variety felt less inspired.
Okay, so say like a super boss, right?
I'm not talking super bosses. I'm just talking you can't make an answer without going to the late end game stuff.
Okay, so like
about he's been playing a lot of post game.
Average combat scenario, the average thing you're fighting. I mean,
the average combat scenario is some shit you're gonna walk up on and try to run away from, right? So that'll be the unique. So you try to you run up on and you see Immovable Gonzalez, and you're like, what the fuck is this shit? And you try to run away, right? And in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, if you understand how team attack works and how to build up your full burst or whatever, then you understand how to beat that fucker.
What does that have to do with the question?
I knew.
You mean as far as how likable the enemy is?
I'm just saying, in which game we were talking about characters, and I thought, let's take it to the creature designs. The creature, the variety of the creatures, the design.
The variety of the creature itself.
I'm talking about fighting them, or just And that was just a base question, so that's just what I was curious.
Okay, so the creatures themselves, I'm probably going to side more.
And let me ask this before you think about it, because you play both games more.
Yeah.
Was there unique creatures in 2, depending on which Titan you're on?
Yeah.
So
they all had unique. You all had unique
say X more than 2 though, because in any given area that you were in on X, there was like at least 4 or 5 uniques that you could fight that were like significantly strong. Versus like on 2, you can go and there's like say you go to Gormat or whatever, right? There's 2 uniques you can fight. You can either fight Immovable Gonzalez or fucking Titanic Gonzalez or whatever. Either the one that's sleeping or the one that's walking around.
There were more than that.
I'm just saying, like, as far as the highest level, like, there's a Demos there as well, but the Demos is technically weaker than the Movable Gonzalez.
Going back and looking at X's enemies, I probably would say X had better enemy design. I'll say that. I'll agree with that.
Even on Primordia though, like Primordia had like
I think
way
in general
more supers.
X has a lot. But I think because X's enemies are more alien inspired, whereas I feel like X Chronicles 2's enemies are
more like animals.
Yeah, they're more variations on enemies.
There's a super boss around every corner in X that has different stats. Like you fuck around in Primordia,
you couldn't do it.
Like, I'm just saying there'll be a boss that'll be like, there's nothing but spike damage here.
I think what the fuck are you gonna do? Too many Bacardis.
No. I'm just saying though. I'm just saying, like,
talking aesthetics. Holy shit.
No. For real.
Hey, we get it. You played
everybody. The first boss that everybody ran into.
Whose man's
Noctilum and that pawn, right? No, for real. Noctilum and that pawn, and then you see that little bot there, and then you're like, I'm gonna fight this motherfucker, right? And then you fight him. And the only way to beat him is to have like reverse spike damage, because everything he does is spike. And then you try to fight him, and then you hold that almighty L, because if you don't have the anti-spike damage, you're holding the L. So like I'm trying to figure out what other creature in any other Xenoblade Chronicles game teaches you that lesson that early on, as soon as you see them. As soon as you see that character, you're like, oh shit.
I feel like me and Juice are on the same.
I like the enemy design.
And that's not a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying, like, what experience is more critical than that?
Well, real quick. All right. Well, let's go. Since we're going to talk about combat, let's talk about combat a little bit, because we kind of touched on it. But the other thing I wanted to mention was the break, topple, launch, smash system, but I believe it's in both games.
I hate that system
in general, or you mean specifically?
I hate it in 2, but I don't remember as much in X.
I only remember up to topple in X.
That's so annoying.
That was really why.
Isn't it forced for some of the affinity quests? You have to just like do that like a ridiculous.
You're right. You have to break and topple enemies at certain.
So there's certain characters it works best on.
Just to get affinity?
No,
not
the
to
affinity chart.
Get affinity, but like to complete the chart. Some of them
to complete the chart.
They require you to break a certain amount of times or topple.
Yeah, so then I just kept fighting.
That. I'll send their ass off on affinity quest.
Well,
it has to be with your. It didn't count, and I don't know if they updated it. And that's one thing I meant to say in the beginning. I forgot. If X had, X had some by the time it came out in the US, they had obviously made some tweaks, and we had the final
X
version.
Had gotten the patches it deserved.
I don't think X got too many patches, but if 2 hadn't gotten some of the patches, I'd have a lot more complaints, because they definitely fixed a lot of things with the interface.
True. Also, the fact that X Chronicles 2 has DLC also helps it a lot.
Because you're talking about having
X has DLC, but I'm listening. Go ahead.
I mean, when you have to, when you had to in the early days, before the patches, let's say you had to.
You had to watch the cutscene for getting each blade.
Nia's 3 favorite.
It's just stupid.
Or so-and-so's 3 favorite items from the bread category. So then you give them the bread and you had to listen to the spiel for 20, 30
Yeah,
seconds.
you couldn't skip it. Yeah.
You got to tap the A button real fast.
You couldn't skip it in the initial
in
launch.
the base game you couldn't.
The initial launch game.
Just like how you couldn't skip the cutscene every time you use a core crystal.
Yeah, core crystal. You had to sit there and watch all that shit.
God damn it, why is my camera on? But okay.
If that was still in the game, that would have probably been my biggest complaint. But they took it out, they patched it, and they did the right thing. Because I just was playing a little bit ago, and you have the option now just to open a core crystal and skip the cutscene. That was not there.
Yes.
By the time I stopped playing the game, that was not there.
Yeah, that was one of the earlier patches, but it was still like 2018 patch.
You could skip the animation, or whatever.
Now you can just skip it completely from the get-go. It gives you the option before you even open the crystal.
Before you even open the core crystal,
which I don't really like, because during the core crystal animation, if you are unlocking you
could see the silhouette before you.
Yes, you could see the silhouette. Like, the first thing that happens is, number one, if you're unlocking a rare, right? If you're unlocking a rare, or say a special blade or what have you, it will skip all of that shit. So as soon as you try to do the three you'll methods or whatever, it just say, fuck it, we're gonna show the animation
you'll skip the animation of seeing the rare blade if it's a rare blade.
So you don't even get that now, because you try to skip that entire thing.
I feel like giving people the option to do it if they want to is up to them.
Yeah,
I understand the appeal of watching it, but I feel like if people don't want to watch it, they should have the right to skip it. The reason why I brought the break topple launch smash system is that because I think it's more prevalent in X
driver combos.
It's more prevalent in Chronicles 2 than it is in X, even though I think it is in X in its entirety.
It's really important in X, to be honest with you.
But you never. I don't know if I don't see it.
I don't think I ever did it in X.
It works really good in X. The only problem is the majority of the uniques you fight in X have spike damage. So if you can topple lock a character without introducing any spike damage, then you'll be able to topple lock a character just like you can in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's just so. What's the name of that damn big ass damn dinosaur in?
We're not that.
But I'm saying there's a giant dinosaur.
Yeah, like we're not
there's an area that you can topple lock.
Just say it's a super boss. That's all I need to know. That's all I fucking need to know.
Hey guys, Shadow's playing super bosses because he's got 400 hours.
I'm sorry, but
I mean, look, I've been there super boss in the game, and even I
probably forgot what it's like just fighting the average enemies.
So okay, even the average enemy in Primordia, right? The giant fucking
Brontosaurus
looking things or whatever, right? If you want to topple lock that fucker, right, you try to do your topple up or whatever, topple up XX, right? And then you do that, and then you have another character that says damage up for each character that's topple XX, right? So that'll probably be, what's his name, Tatsu or whatever. Tatsu would have the topple up XX. He'll have that damage, and then whoever your third character is would be, if they're in launch, then you will have the triple damage on them, and then you'll be able to topple, launch, and then kill this fucking dino based on that damage, and then you could do infinite overdrive on top of that, and then just ultimately kill that fucker. So you could fight any one of those little Saurons or whatever you want to call them when you go to them, and you can kill them on foot based on the affinity bonds you have between Tatsu and whoever your third character is based on the launch properties. So and I infinite overdrive the fuck out of them. So I go in and I infinite overdrive. I typically start with Samurai Soul, depending if I have the assault rifle and the sword or whatever, and then I spark ether. And when I spark ether, the next character comes in and says, hey, for each ether granted, I do 200 plus percent damage on them or whatever. And then they're granted all kind of damn damage on them. And then when I do overdrive, it's even, times that or whatever. 1,000 damage.
My main thing was that in Chronicles 2, I feel like that was a lot more prevalent, and it was more, not saying it's not in the other game. I'm just saying, like, most people didn't even realize it was in Chronicles. I mean, in X, because most people didn't you never had to use it, or you didn't get that far into the combo for it to matter.
True.
Like for me,
Chronicles 2 is the same though. Like
no,
you just
Chronicles 2, it happens.
I didn't know to do it till 100 hours plus into the game. That's when
in 2 or 1
in
or
2.
X.
2, I never did a full. I didn't know there was a topple, lit whatever, and smash whatever it was called in 2. I didn't know X. I knew there had topple and X, and that's all. I thought topple was the extent of it.
So there's topple. And so with the problem is
that to me that's the difference. Like
yes, you
it's
can do
part of the
topple
battle
plus.
mechanics that, like and that's what I was saying before. The combat in X doesn't really require you to get good at it. X's is more you find what works for you and then you kind of just run with it. Chronicles 2, after a certain point, you just kind of start picking. I don't think either one has great conveyance.
Yeah, especially trying to find a blade that has the right, because the only way to look at
they
it,
only have those abilities on certain drivers. Like for example,
yes.
Rex, the only character Rex, and the only blade that works with Rex that allows him to do a smash is Rock. That's it. That's the only one. Whereas like Zeke can do launch with Pandoria off bat.
But then what's the name could do topple and launch, and that's Tora.
Yeah, Tora. If you got cutie,
but the only way to find out if they could do it is you had to equip the blade, then you had to go to Rex and do the upgrade the arts.
Yes,
to
upgrade the arts on that character
to even see if they had that.
Yes,
yeah, exactly.
So that was a cluster.
And so in New Game Plus, they have hidden affinity charts. And if you go on there, they have even more. So if you go on there, there's a topple and a launch for both Rex, Tora, and Nia as well.
Rex, Tora didn't need it.
You know, since you're starting New Game Plus, they're like, shit, you got a shitload of extra affinity points. So spin them. And then you go on there, you look, and you're like, well, damn, I can make Rex damn near undefeated. And I can make basically an evasion build.
To be fair, you can do that in X2, where you can make, you could solo any.
You ever had that shadow dance or whatever?
Man, I do.
Broken fucking dodge. My God.
But there was a tyrant in Oblivia on the shore. It was a headless like brontosaurus.
Yes, and you have to do it. That's the one that I practice on all the time.
Dude, I only got that maybe 10% of its health down at the most. But then because it Ares 90 scale, I didn't care. You could have 3 of them, and those attacks just did not hurt. You just had to survive the battle because it had. It was only the same level as some of the other ones I could kill in two hits, and that thing, whatever I watched videos on it, I could not get a build together where I could beat that.
If you have an Ares 90 scale and you go on the overdrive and you have Ether Plus XX on everything in your
that's
party,
a long time.
But you need like 3 Ares 90s to do this, right? But you can one shot. You can one shot that motherfucker in Oblivion if you know what you're doing with 3 Ares 90s.
I think
otherwise you have to use Ghostwalker on foot.
I think Shadow wants to make a guide for beginners to X.
Yes.
So let's talk about something we can get retro in.
But Shokyo did it too a long time ago. I don't, it's just whatever.
We haven't talked about this at all yet.
That's go ahead.
Music. I played a little music during the beginning. And now, while X has some bad tracks overall, I found the variety in some of the themes for each area way more memorable. I couldn't hum one thing from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 other than the battle music. Probably everything else is just completely. I think the one area I do remember is Zeke's home area. It's just kind of like these slight chimes, like snow falling type sound. It's not really music, but for me, like Caldros's music, Primordia's music, Oblivia's, like that to me that was better music overall. The game, but there was some really bad music too.
I could
Terminator, you trying to fucking blast me out on the chat. I see.
I'm gonna say
waiting for you.
I completely disagree personally. I can't remember. I only remember maybe the battle theme in X. I don't remember shit else.
God, the Caldros one.
I remember
me of Magma Caverns.
I think I can hum most of the Titans in Chronicles too. Gormont's theme, day and night, are fucking hell. Especially the fucking remix in Torna. Fucking love that track. More Dane, the fact that Tantal, fucking.
So what I will say is,
Let's get retro. I haven't heard retro
I was
speak.
gonna say, here's the thing, like there's two types of soundtracks in the world. Like you have like what X2 does, which is like a personal favorite. This is bias, whatever, which is standard JRPG shit. Again, Phone, Botting Kite, Scars of Arcadia, all great, the greatest RPGs in the world use these classically composed soundtracks that have like this overall arcing theme. It's just beautiful fucking music. Like Terrell said, I could hum like most of these themes. Like a lot of these themes, I play them in the background all the time. When I think of music in X, I hear this fucking goddamn cheap ass fucking hoo rap shit song.
Yeah, New LA.
Fucking goddamn time.
That's X.
New LA.
That's X.
You're gonna be in New LA for most of the time, and again for a lot of the time.
In New LA.
For a lot of the time, and this is all the time. And when I go outside in the world, it is a lot of random chaotic shit. Like there's a specific track, it's all random. But the type of music that you have in X is like the slow background kind of stuff. It is not meant as a soundtrack like an X2. It is not like RPG soundtrack. It is like background noises. I don't know. Like there's not even close the quality of X2, which required work and art and skill, compared to this random shit in X, and we throw this weird little rap shit in it, and then it is just so out of place. It's awful. So seriously, one of the reasons I can't play X anymore because of the terrible soundtrack.
Retro, let me tell you why you're wrong, right? This is why I'm gonna tell you why I'm wrong.
Wrong. Yeah, we know you're wrong, Shadow.
Well, no, this will tell you why he's wrong and I'm right. Look, you go into challenge mode, and then you fight Elma, and then the overdrive music plays. You're fucking done. At that point, you're just like, okay,
that's the best song in the game.
No, I'm saying that's the best battle music you're gonna hear.
Bullshit.
Really, dude?
Bullshit. You're fucking
really.
Lying.
You hear overdrive music that you ain't heard since fucking Wii U, and then you're gonna be like, I'm not pumped by this,
bro. But what you're doing now, though, like I just want to say that what you're doing now is the same shit you guys pulled with like the best side quest, and you talk about one fucking
because of nostalgia is what you're saying.
Also, Side, he's full of shit. He's lying anyway, Retro. He's fucking lying.
How am I full of shit?
Tournament's battle theme is better than the overdrive thing.
I love X2. I love X2 in the battle. So to me, it's easier for me to go ahead and do full burst and kill everything in the game. But when you fight Elma for the first time and she's like, motherfucker, I got overdrive and Ghostwalker and there's nothing you could do on me, and then you hear this song replaying over and over again, it reminds you of how awesome X was.
It's a good song.
Sounds like you got engrossed by the moment, not the
music.
Let me
ask Retro a question. So are you saying an X's music wasn't composed and created by somebody? Because I kind of got that feeling.
Like that's not what I mean.
I want to clarify because that's
like I said, like,
same team made it, but
it's like it's a different kind of style. Like I said, what you have in X2 is what you see in like most RPGs. Is like when it's a specific style that like is composed to be the music in the game, and what you have at X is composed to have like in the background while you're exploring. It's a different type of soundtrack.
It's different. I agree. They're of same.
Not even the style, like the purpose of it. I mean, like the stuff in X is meant to have like looping on in the background. While you're doing, say, like I said, even the horrible fucking like New LA team, like it's meant to be in the background all the time. It is not meant to be as engrossing or as emotional as X2.
But New LA wasn't part of what made.
Just because you hate it doesn't mean you can dismiss it. It's part of your game.
You're in New LA about 10% of the game of my playtime. So I mean, but
what made X great was the song that you heard when you're fighting fucking Telethia, or you're fighting the end of chapter 10 for the people.
It's a different philosophy between two games. One has
a very like alien soundtrack,
ambient, and when the battle music's more orchestrated, and then Xenoblade Chronicles X is more of a just like.
Tell me you don't feel it when you walk the Silverloom for the first time. Tell me you don't feel it when you walk the Silverloom for the first time. Tell me you don't feel it.
Silverloom is probably the closest to what Xenoblade Chronicles 2 did. Silverloom just had a background noise. It wasn't a music. So if you spent as much time in Silverloom as I did, it had that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 feel to it, because it's just like you said, it's just ambient noises. It's not an actual song. It's not a beat.
Wait,
It's just
but Chronicles 2 has
This dude talked about Torner. That's not fair. Torner.
No, I'm saying is Chronicles 2 has like soundtrack.
but two does have musical moments.
No, I would say the majority of the game is musical moments.
Yeah. But
here's the thing, like to put it really easy without talking about the quality of the music. When I listen to the soundtrack of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I enjoy it. I think it's so amazing and beautiful. There's not a song that I hate. Like some stuff is like less good, some stuff is okay. But with X, there are several songs that I just can't fucking stand anymore to hear. That's how bad it is. And that just drowns out all the rest. You know, it's like even the battle theme in X, like I hate that shit. Like it's just
I like the
Hold on, the guitar battle theme? The main guitar battle theme?
just the overall battle theme.
Is that the one where they're singing in the background?
Yeah.
No, not before the singing. It's the dun, 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 before they even start singing. It takes like 2 minutes for them to start singing.
It doesn't matter if it takes 2 minutes. It is the song.
Yeah, that takes a while.
But I will say,
I think
two different philosophies made by the same creators. They took two different approaches.
Well, that's true. I mean,
But
that's the games in general.
I mean, just this Cauldrus theme is just it's one of the best music pieces for a game that for me, outside of the classic, you know, Zeldas and main Mario themes like Super Mario World 1 theme, you know, those classics that are embedded in my brain forever.
Cauldrus is beautiful.
The cool.
I would say Gormat to me is that.
Cauldrus and Lao final
Day and Night are both that.
Final encounter with Lao, I think, is probably pretty good too.
Terrell, did you see the last video? No, the video Clock that did with the game boxes and shit.
Damn, I haven't watched it yet.
Okay, because I think he uses like one of the themes of X2. I was just curious which one it was.
And here we are. We clocked it not on the fucking damn stream.
I can check it real quick
I think it is the one you're talking about. I'm not sure, but like that theme is like gold.
But I do have to challenge you though, because was just listening to Gormat 2. I muted my mic. That's just a repeating music thing. Like that's not just ambient sounds. I mean,
even in Torna, it's the same.
It might be more enjoyable for you, but it's still a looping.
I was gonna say, like, let's get one thing straight. I don't think the music in X is bad at all. Like, there's a lot of good music in there. It's just, I feel like in X2, to my liking, it has a more cohesiveness to like where X has a lot of random styles that just don't clash too much.
It's a mixture of styles, whereas 2's more of a. It's more of a full, like orchestrated kind of.
That's mainly what I mean. Even if I'm fair and I take out New LA, which is just a fucking garbage track.
New LA is supposed to be trash.
Retro. I just listened to Clock Things video. Yeah, that's Gormat.
Yeah, okay, that is
like one of the first major areas you get into the game.
Yeah,
I fucking love that track.
But then Gormat is like
that could have been in
X.
What? Say what?
That Gormat theme, because they use so many different styles of music in X, that could have been the theme for Oblivia. Like,
no,
I think it could have, because
Oblivia is more like kind of dark though.
Well, I'm just saying,
I don't think
I wasn't saying that specifically. I've just named a continent, but I'm saying
all I'm saying is I can't. No, because to me, Xenoblade
Primordia maybe
Xenoblade X's soundtrack is way more more.
Because I say every song, every track is completely
kind of hits that level, that weird.
I guess like Primordia sounds like you could die at any moment type. Even like, and that's
I don't think that's
the base music you get.
I don't think there's any area in X where that Gormat thing would fit.
Yeah.
Personally,
Gormat seems really fucking happy.
I also think that I just think that has more variety in the soundtrack. For example, I think Zeke's battle theme is fucking great. That's a cool ass metal rock cover.
But where is Zeke going to fit in X, man?
If Zeke's is kind of a metal,
although ironically enough, Zeke kind of sounds like a Final Fantasy song.
I think both games they kind of mix it up. It's not just a consistent one kind of style music throughout the whole game, though. I think that
you said real quick. You said one of your favorite tracks is
Cauldrus. Like that's one of the most.
Let me go listen.
Cauldrus is good.
I'm gonna let y'all. I'm gonna go listen real quick. I'm just curious.
You already got the link, or you already got the.
Cauldrus is fucking epic, man. That's your. How do we get an orchestra together?
I'm just gonna mute my mic real quick.
Okay.
Yeah. Like listen to Calderus and then like walk
Well, the
into
thing about
an area.
Calderus, to me, it reminds me of Tron Legacy, that soundtrack by Daft Punk.
I feel you.
And that's why I absolutely love that soundtrack on Tron Legacy. So that's what it reminds me of. I linked in the chat. I don't know if my link will work because I'm not a mod to the Caldros theme. If anybody's curious,
you calling me out like hell. Too much Bacardi in the chat, like for real. And then I look, and then you got this picture of a girl with a hair wrap.
That was just one of the X characters I sent a long time ago. To me,
I can see what I just listened to it.
Juice, you ain't saying too much Bacardi yet.
Yeah, for some reason I completely forgot about this damn track. I like the track, but I don't.
That's more really, my type of.
Yeah, I feel like it's like you were saying before. It fits the world it's in, but I don't. It's not one of those tracks that I can hear you. Like I put it this way, I will bump Zeke's battle theme in my car. I can't really bump.
I'm the opposite. I would bump Caldros, but Zeke,
really.
Yeah,
Calderus is really fucking good.
I would bump that in my theater.
Imagine that.
Calderus is good. Like it has that boom too.
I couldn't even imagine. I'll be real with you. I can't.
Dude, you go inside those columns and then you start flying in lower, and then you hear that boom rise up. You gotta listen to it. You gotta listen to it.
I think literally it's just a difference in design.
All right, Retro. I'm gonna link you.
Oh.
This to me, I could be wrong. This is Sylvalum's night theme. This sounds like it could be in Xenoblade Chronicles too.
Sylvalum sounds really good too.
All right, let me listen to this one.
Sylvalum's night theme is really good.
That sounds like it could be in Xenoblade Chronicles too. Because X just had I think the variety was maybe a turnoff to some people. I have a eclectic taste of music.
Is there anybody in the chat that hasn't played X? If you have, go ahead and give me like a thumbs up or something in the chat, because we don't want this to be like a weird conversation. I feel that everybody that's in this chat right now should have played both games.
Like the shit like Juice just posted. Juice is like you said, like that is the kind of music that I absolutely fucking love. But that's what I said, you know. Like,
but you gotta go find that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my problem. You gotta go like look for it through a lot of shit and everything. And then in the end it is still a style. I would prefer X2 style over that, but that's just the fact that that is a good song. Like I said,
actually the Dave track
that would have fit. That probably would have fit during the World Tree. So I can at least say that I will agree. You could put that in X2s, and I wouldn't have noticed it. I wouldn't have noticed that it
wouldn't have felt out of place.
Does anybody have that one guy's channel that has the entire X soundtrack, or do I need to link that in the chat?
There's probably like a playlist you can.
So let's
a playlist of every song on X. The
majority of us, I think, would agree that they just make good music, whether they might have some misses here and there. But both games and what I played of the first game seemed like they got music down pretty good, whoever's the composer.
They're pretty good. They're really good, I think.
I'm going to just post some of my favorite tracks.
Let me listen to Zeke's battle music, though.
That shit is great. Hold on a second.
Zeke is just goofy, but it's whatever, man.
It sounds like dead ass. It sounds like a Final Fantasy theme sometimes.
Man, that dude, lightning, fucking thunder, like
fucking lightning, ultimate fury set, Max,
XMS Max or whatever it was, and he blows himself up on that same little cliff. That's good shit.
Then what's another?
Final Fantasy's music though went kind of downhill, like the character design.
Well, true, but I'm talking about old Final Fantasy, not new Final Fantasy.
Also, asked me for the link.
It's like something I always said. Like Final Fantasy VII is by far my least favorite Final Fantasy. I don't like it that much, but it has the greatest battle theme in all of Final Fantasy. Like that fucking music is like up there.
All right, let me comment on the Zeke music.
I'm gonna link that playlist.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I got another one for you.
All right, I'm a legit hard rock music fan. I have hundreds of.
So you got all kind of shit like that, probably.
So when I hear that sounds like some pop band who tried to make a rock sound. Like that doesn't work for me. It's probably good in the game, but like in my car, I'd feel embarrassed to be listening to that.
Why the fuck am I missing that? Like it's not showing up in my.
Thoughts, Tro? Thoughts?
Sorry, I was trying to find the right Tantal track I was gonna link.
Yeah, that Zeke music I'd be embarrassed to listen to in my car.
Really?
Yeah.
I bumped the shit out of that track.
That sounds like
What does it mean when you
sounds
guys
like
say that?
some nerdy Japanese guy thinking he knows what rock music sounds like.
How
That's
dare
what
you. How dare you?
that's what it sounds like to me.
Well,
Sounds
there's
like an
I
anime
posted-
composer trying to do rock music.
I posted Tantal's track. Tantal's another good
Yeah,
one.
that's kind of what you have in New LA. An anime composer trying to do rap.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like that song either. So we can agree.
You don't
on
like?
that.
You don't even like Tantal's?
No, listen. I'm talking about New LA's.
Oh, okay. Never mind. All right. And then there's a certain
Yeah,
battle
Tantal,
thing.
that sounds good. That sounds like something being a Super NES RPG or something. It's got that feel to it.
So you're fine. You're fine with that
That's good. But I think I've had enough discussing this. I actually want to play some games tonight, so
one.
I'm thinking
We
Smash
never
Brothers.
got to a final discussion, man. Like, what's better? Like,
We already know.
we never talked about gameplay or
Oh no, we did. We talked about combat.
I will say the
combat, but not like fighting systems.
traversal, or not true. What's that word?
Traversal.
Traversal.
Is traversal.
Sorry, I had some phlegm. Being able to run, forget even before you get to scales. I don't know why they took that out of 2, but it was
You
maybe
can run
because
and
the
jump
engine.
high.
But
I don't think the engine could handle it.
it's
So-
not about that. I feel like X2, like because of one of your complaints, a lot of people like it's too linear, it's so small. You don't need running in 2.
There's a lot of big areas with no.
in 1, you
quick
need
way.
running because it's all you'll be doing.
Well, 1 doesn't have
Oh.
run. 2 does, or X does.
Yeah, X has run and jump or high jump if you run and jump.
I wouldn't have minded 2 to have some running in some sections, especially Gormont.
Because it's
But
too much
I-
to do, too much to look at, too many people to talk to. You won't be running that much.
When you're out in Gormont in the fields, there's no one to talk to.
But it's
like,
not
there's-
that huge. It's not that like
a
open or
pretty
big
big-
or something. Like you don't need it. And like I said, an X, like all you have is giant fucking landscapes, like empty to run between enemies.
He's got a kind of point there. Like the majority of your exploring in X is like getting the fuck around these goddamn these
High level.
uniques
Mhm.
that they call I forgot what the name of them was in X.
I still
but-
miss them. They're tyrants.
yeah, tyrants in X, but
I still miss the running. I miss the jumping and scaling. You know,
But I like the fact that you can upgrade your run and jump in Chronicles too
yeah.
by doing by buying all the shops in a certain area and raising its development level.
and I
That's
didn't
true.
notice that changing your movement speed.
Yeah, you can do
You
that
can
in
go
X.
faster.
You just have to build it up. But in X though, like
But to me, that's
once
the
you
grinding,
got
that's part of
a
the grinding nature. I
scale,
appreciate.
once you got a scale, when you could drive up an area you would normally slide down, like that changed shit. And then obviously once you got a scale that could fly, that definitely changed shit. So
I
it
actually
just-
preferred the jumping in my scale to flying in a lot of there was a lot of cool, for me, personal moments when I got the scale and it had this ridiculous high jump and I started
yes, and you
scaling
could jump a little bit
Oblivion,
higher.
and I was
Yep.
getting to areas like probably, I don't know if they thought anyone would try, and I was kind of disappointed when you got the flight module
Mm-hmm.
that you couldn't turn it off and still just jump when you wanted to, because there's areas where you're driving around because people forget you transform into a vehicle
Yep.
and you move super fast. Well, there's some gaps that you kind of want to jump, but you hit that ZR and it goes immediately into flying, and you just wanted to jump a gap and land again, because sometimes I just wanted to drive around and not miss all the beauty.
But if you
of
had the
the
flight module, you would. If you didn't have the flight module, you would jump, and
Yeah,
then
you
you
would
would be
just
able to
jump.
make it there.
You know,
jump in.
another thing I like hate, because you're bringing that up now, because I wanted to say it earlier, but I couldn't worm it in anymore, that I absolutely hate about X, which just breaks the immersion for me, is when you're in your skull and you're walking and you're driving, and like these other people, little bitches, are running after you. It's like, come on.
Yeah, they could have just had them hop on the vehicle.
Or just
And-
remove them completely. But that running shit, I'm like in this giant mech and shit, and you
I
just
didn't
running
know,
after me. It's like,
I'm learning something about retro today, and he looks at video games and looks at reality in the video games. I just never did.
Yeah.
you gotta respect the rules of the universe. Just you
No,
create.
that never in a video game, unless it's trying to be like Battlefield trying to be
serious,
realistic.
yeah.
No, you don't have to be like photorealistic. But if you have a car and the car passes through me, and you have shit that appears when it's not there yet, then you're just not respecting the world. And when you have a mech and you're walking around and you still animate the other characters running after you, that's just stupid.
Doesn't
But
bother me.
now you understand where he's coming from, though. Now, right? Because I didn't like at first. I was like, is he just being ultra contrarian, or? But now I understand.
I get now, stuff like that. It's a video game. I don't even think twice about anything like that. Like that doesn't even. I've seen it and will know exactly what you're talking about.
It's a video game. You know what I don't think about them? For example, let me say something positive then about X. Like, I don't care about that kind of rules. When a character can jump 5 feet in the air and you can like jump in circles, I don't care. It's a video game. There's specific things, okay, whatever. But that doesn't break the immersion of what will be possible in that world, for example,
They have a word for that, by the way.
It's terrible programming.
No, it's called Luno Narrative Dissidence.
No, but it's just a bad choice to like choose to keep the characters running after your mech, for example, instead of just removing them. It's a cheap choice to have a car go through them instead of programming the fact that they just can't, That's cheap
that's
shit.
that's what that word means. It's when a game takes somebody out of the experience because it doesn't work. It doesn't compete with you. That it takes you out of the game or the moment. That's what
it kills the
a
immersion.
piece of the GTA engine in a fraction of that entire world. They're just like, hey, here's a GTA engine just over here.
Yeah,
and we got this giant fucking alien spaceship and then other shit over here.
Trust me, if this wasn't the Wii U and their first HD game, I'm pretty confident based on everything else they've done, they wouldn't have done that. But I remember specifically an interview about that, and they were just like the amount of coding and stuff it would have took to deal with clipping, and what happens when your character hits the car. Do they go flying? What happens when the skull hits a car? Does the car go flying? They're just like, you know what? Simple solution. There's no interaction. And I can understand why there would be a lot of work just for that one element of New LA, which, like I said, about 10% of the overall experience for me. I could see why they didn't do it, but like I said, I would just jump over the cars just for my own little mini game when I played the game, even though I didn't have to. So
just imagine the destruction models they would have to create for like you crash landed your scale on top of any of that shit. And it's
what happens if you hit the car with a skull? Then does it need to have damage for you to be okay? What?
Like really
does
hard.
Does your scale need damage?
But then I think really easy. Okay, let's do it like the really easy solution. Don't have driving cars. Put them on a parking spot, like you have in the game, and that's it. And create them as like a building you can walk on. Done. Issue solved.
See,
it doesn't break me out of the immersion anymore then.
But they're simulating that people are doing shit throughout the day. So it's not like you couldn't really effectively pull that off with a car being stationary. It has to be moving. It has to, I guess, in certain circumstance, if you're moving next to it, it has to react in some type of way, whether it goes through you or it simulates some type of construction or deconstruction animation.
Without knowing, I'm sure they had debate, like, what should we do? Should we have cars? Should we not have cars? And they obviously decided to have them, and then to avoid all the issues. Like for me, that like I said, that stuff doesn't even register as like, oh my god, this takes me out of the game. That
but like it's like a lot of those little things that just adds up to why I don't like X as much as I like X.
Just keep that in mind that also not only is it 720p, but at every given moment, anytime there, you could zoom out and all that shit's in fucking RAM. All of it. And
when you send up that probe or that view thing, that was pretty cool.
Yes. Or you can just hop in your scale at that moment in time and just jump the fuck up and fly away from that. And all that shit is still in RAM. Everything that you did is still in RAM.
I would say, as far as earlier I mentioned the pop-up of certain things, but the main, what do you want to say, architect or the main land masses, even at the highest point, were still visible. They didn't disappear. Yep. So they definitely, they obviously,
and depending on what you did, so if you decided to recreate the water plant, that shit is there from high above. Mm-hmm. Whatever level you were at on the water plant is there. You know, if you had the alien spaceship there, it's fucking there when you fly back or whatever. So it, I thought that was pretty cool that they kept those different phases in place depending on what phase you were in the game.
Yeah, I think I could see them just like the car thing. I'm sure they're like, all right, I don't know for sure, but to get rid of some of that pop-up, they probably would have had the background architecture of the world not be visible, to have the close stuff not have pop up. But I would rather have that on Primordia, that huge overhanging arch or whatever, always visible. It's unless you get out of Primordia, it's always visible. And I think that's a trade-off. Just like in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, we didn't really talk about the raw graphics and stuff. We talked a little bit about resolution performance, but the decision to have on a Tyrant, when you look, you see its head moving, you see its tail, you see its whatever moving. To me, that came at the cost of the resolution of the game, or the
size of the world,
foliage, and that game in portable mode, especially the worst, in my opinion. It's the worst looking game portable. Almost every other game I have, looks equal to or better in portable. So
can we just say that X shitted on 2 with regards to world size? Can we say that?
Well, yeah, but I feel like that's
without any defiance, can we say that?
But
that's
a dumb thing to say.
I think Chronicles 2 has a denser world, personally.
No, it's a different type of gameplay. It's like
world,
X is meant as like open world. X2 isn't meant as really open world. So yeah, of course the size is different because it has to be.
So would you agree seeing the Titan's body moving was worth the sacrifice that maybe because I think when I first saw Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I'm like, that's a step down.
Yeah.
As far as
I could say that,
when you're just looking at the grass, you're looking at the fields, I think it was a step down, but it has to be because of that huge moving object in the background at all times.
Now, this is like personal. This is like personal choice always, but I like that sacrifice. I like that the Titans are moving. Like, one of the things I love most in video games is like when you have something that is really, really small standing across something really fucking huge. I love that. I don't know if there's a real word for that, but I like that idea. So if you would have not have the Titans move in X2, that kind of feeling would have been killed, kind of. The fact that you're walking on these ginormous living creatures. Like, so for me, that has to stay in the game.
So I kind of agree with that. I kind of agree with that. There's something to be said about Gormott and the fucking tail moving. Like, you're there and you're just like, this motherfucker, the head is moving, the tail is moving. I'm on some shit that's straight swimming on this cloud sea or whatever, right? And it feels like the biggest, and you have different tides as well. So you have, high tide, low tide, or whatever, or middle tide. So you feel like this creature is moving amongst the cloud sea, and you feel a little bit more immersed in it. But even with Mirror being stationary, any given night I could look up at this motherfucker and it's got 3 moons in the sky, or it just says, you know what, I just got 1 star out here, and then there's a cloud hanging over, and that's different every night. So I don't know, I don't know which is greater as far as impression goes, if you get what I'm saying. So
yeah, it's a tough. I don't even know
that's a tough choice, and like I'm still finding like vistas in X like today, and that game came out of what, 2015 technically. So
yeah, it's been
on the Wii U, which has to be set every time.
It was December 2015, so that's only been 3 years.
3 years.
Like, I would like give some massive praise to X for one thing, because it goes without saying that one of the most beautiful things in X is like one of the most beautiful things in any video game, and it's something I look at. I look at it in Breath of the Wild, I look at it in Morrowind or like Skyrim, whatever, any type of game, always, because I like the atmosphere and immersion in games, especially in open world games. I look at the sky all the fucking time, and X is some of the most beautiful skies I've ever seen in any video game. Like I said, when you're like in a desert with the rings and you have these fucking dark gray clouds with the sun shining through,
and there's like 3 moons lying together.
And like I said, and I have the starry nights with the moons. Like, this is some of the most beautiful skies I've ever seen in a video game, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to try and keep playing the game.
And I will say, Breath of the Wild, for all its greatness, the one thing disappointed me was the night sky. I don't think it should wow you when there's the night, the stars, or the
Breath of
moon.
the Wild, the only great thing for me was Lord of the Mountain, and you finding out where that was, and then you going like, holy fuck, what is that? And then you actually go there, and then you find out that there's bunnies bouncing everywhere, and you find that fucker. That's the only thing that.
In the defense of Breath of the Wild, because I will say that's one of the things I hated in X, that X2 fixed, I think. In X is that everything is stationary. The lighting is dead.
The lighting's
nothing
fixed.
moves.
Yeah.
So when you have the moon, like in X2, it's easy to make it look that nice, you know. When you have the shit in Breath of the Wild, when a moon pops up, and like every single individually animated fucking piece of grass has like the reflection on the moon going over it and shit. Like you cannot replicate that.
The ground looked great at night with the moon, but looking up at the sky, as soon as they showed that game, I was like, I cannot wait to see Hyrule at night.
I just meant that the moon has to do so much, the lighting has to do so much in Breath of the Wild that you have to take some of that like beauty out of the sky to be able to like envelop everything in it.
So the only problem with X was, Jesus, what the fuck? We're generating all these polygons across this entire world, and it's all in RAM. So I kind of understand the limitations for both systems.
Well, I think the best decision or the best improvement in 2 over X is the dynamic lighting, because there's areas where you're coming out of what's the first little hub world on the clouds?
You talking about Argenum?
Argenum, yeah.
Argenum.
The first time I went in, and then I was coming out, and I took a screenshot, and it was just, you couldn't see anything but bright light, like when you come out of the dark in the real world, and you see a bright door opens. Your eyes need to focus. And I took it as my first screenshot of the game, and I have it on my Switch. I'll probably post it right now. Actually, I think it's on my PC. And I was like, whoa, that is something I didn't see in all the trailers and all the footage on YouTube. Was, wow, that's a pretty impressive lighting. And then when you get to Gormat the first time, before you see the Titan, there's a little, right before you come out to the field, there's a little wooded area with like a waterfall and puddle. You come down this like tree branch, and I swore I was playing a PS4 game. Like that little section. So when the game doesn't have to account for the Titan moving, it's absolutely stunning, especially with the lighting engine. And but Terrell, you didn't really give your thoughts on the compromise versus
whether I think it was worth it.
Yeah,
to me it was Corinne's house. If you talk about lighting, like coming out of Corinne's house and you have Mithra in your party, and she's lighting the fuck up as you go out into the light of the world or whatever, and that's all contrasting like in the HDR type. I don't even know how to explain it.
Yeah, that does feel like an HDR type experience.
Yeah, it's everything is like low light where it needs to be, everything's highlight where it needs to be, and yeah, it's really fucking good. I don't know how to explain that to the layman, but considering
X and Chronicles 2 have different design philosophies in certain
drastically
aspects, the way Chronicles 2 currently is designed, I'm perfectly fine with it being the size that it is. I don't have any.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, because the dynamic lighting and everything and the moving titans, you can do that because Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is segmented. It is not as a giant open world in X, so you can do more of those things, like I said, which to me create the immersion that I look for in a video game.
I'll put it this way: when
somebody talked about Divine Roost, that's a good ass goddamn point in the game, but
I don't feel like I lost anything going from X to 2. I feel like I gained more than I lost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There was areas, like I said,
smaller, but like I said, the immersion is more. Yeah, like that because of the lighting, because of the moving tides and everything. Like
when the lighting was a factor, but there was areas where the lighting didn't play a part, where it was just kind of a dirty, like I want to say, God, I can't think of what's that? It's not a Titan, I don't think. It's an area where there's a ton of high level monsters and
Temperance.
That Temperance is where all the high level monsters.
To me, that because the texture or whatever, the lighting didn't come into play. I thought that was kind of a unattractive looking area. And then there's
to be fair, it is, but that's also due to the fact that it's
until you fight Tyranno or whatever his name is.
Well, no, it's still no. That doesn't change how the area looks.
True, because it's closed off there.
Considering what it represents, which is a battle area, I don't really mind it as much, especially because some of the other areas kind of make up for that. Like, I think fucking Tentile is beautiful, especially if you go to the lower level.
Yes.
God.
With the fucking squoods, man, what the hell?
That's the other thing. Like, even though it's
big as shit out of nowhere.
It's insane how much of a difference in variation you get going from one area to the other. Even places like Letheria, I think, look great. Even though I think the major draw of Letheria is how broken up and segmented it is, but that's still visual design. I appreciate that. I didn't feel like, oh man, because it's on the Switch and the Switch has to be portable, that man, these areas feel so much smaller and shrunken. Nah, I didn't miss any of that.
Yeah,
performance at 11 watts. I'll say it again. Performance at 11 watts.
It's also because, like I said, like that's why I think the size of the world compared to that is unfair. Because X is an actual like open world game, empty one that I feel. But X2 is more like a segmented RPG where you have specific segments. Like the goal is not really to like run. It's basically like a Tales of Symphonia type game, like a Tales of game without an overworld map to walk around on. It's just segmented more in that.
More where I was coming from is, like I said, when it doesn't have to account for the moving Titan, that game can, I think it doesn't beat a PS4 game, but it looks like it could have been a PS4 game. So that's what was possible if they didn't do the huge moving Titan in the background and the bigger open areas. So that was kind of the general question. They could have went a completely different route. Yeah. And had you not be able to see the Titans moving and then got a more impressive, visually stunning game, and they could have probably wowed some people who care about that.
like just visually, for example, the thing that just blew my when I saw that in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I was like, holy shit, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. It was so beautiful, it was so amazing, and like none of those moments I've had shit in X, like I said, when you have the rings in the sky and shit. That is the only thing that comes closest to it. I think that's one of the screenshots Juice even posted. When you're in Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I don't know what the area is called. At one point, you go inside a Titan. And then somewhere in the beginning of the game, you go inside.
Uriah.
That sounds like Uriah to me.
There's a city in there. The city, and it's all blue and shit with the orange lighting and everything. There's a theater there.
Yeah.
Have you been there when the sakura trees are blooming?
God, yes. There's a specific condition for that.
I know there is, but God, it looks so good. Shit. I like the dynamic weather. It's not like a simple, it's raining.
Yeah, the raining in X was kind of disappointing. The sound effect and the actual visual effect was pretty.
I love the rain.
Only the EX storm was good in X. But
hell, there are certain like in Tantile, you can get snowstorms. You can also get the auroras. But God, the only thing I don't like is that it's kind of random. Like you have to go away from the Titan and come back and repeat that process back and forth.
Well, it's not a handle, but somebody was asking what's a handle. So the new bottles of Bacardi, the 175,
you don't need no more.
I'm sorry, this is ShadowCast, so I got to talk about
Bacardi. Down.
But it's a half. It's a 175, so it's not a true handle. They got rid of the handle in the new Bacardi, so it's like a grip. It's not necessarily a handle, but.
You ain't drunk. Not
drunk. No. I just had to explain that for whoever.
I'm just letting everybody know so they know. They get what I'm trying to say.
But yeah, Uriah. Anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, just in terms of world design, that's. I don't even feel like that's a fair comparison because of how different their design philosophies are. But
did you meet the president down in the quote unquote special area?
You talking about an X?
In 2, where she was hiding because she couldn't be out in the open as the queen of Uriah.
Oh, yeah. It took me
I don't know what you're talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
So down in the basement of the little special area in Uriah, it's like that's the only place you can get to.
That's the reason why I say, even though Chronicles 2 isn't as big, it has really dense level design. There are a lot of nook and crannies and shit that you don't ever have to find in the main game, But if you're doing side missions or other things,
it's bad for the layman though, because when you look on the map, it's like this extra shit you can't see.
Well, I mean, I agree with. I think Juicy mentioned it before. The map in 2 is pretty fucking bad.
Yeah,
like that's. I feel like that's a universal understanding.
It's an extra step you can't see. You have to fucking.
It doesn't take into account elevation. That's the problem.
Yeah.
So like it's like, oh, you're right there. Well, no, I'm not. I gotta go down like 6 floors below ground.
Even Xenoblade 1 takes into account of elevation, and X definitely does it well. So
yeah, of course. It is a misstep. I can completely agree on map is better in the other games than in 2. God, I don't know what else to talk about.
I think we're done.
The Queen, shit. I don't, but
fuck the Queen. I prefer cookies over biscuits anyway.
Endings versus X and 2 is where I'm kind of, and I don't know if that's fair because we got retro in here, and
I don't want to get into that either.
Did Clock beat the game?
T hasn't beat it.
Yeah, T hasn't beat it. I don't think Clock did.
Jay beat it. Jay beat Torner and the regular 2.
There's a lot of new Switch owners out there after Black Friday.
I think going into spoiler territory, not even just for me, a lot of people would turn out and that kind of shit.
Which is funny because technically, Shadowfox already mentioned one of the X spoilers earlier. But
it was kind of
Retro didn't catch it, so it's fine.
Yeah, like I said, sometimes when you go
into the story,
I just take off my headphones and I stop.
So you gotta excuse me because I'm gonna spit spoilers daily. So don't even pay attention to me.
Yeah, Shadowfox can't be trusted.
Yeah, I can't be trusted at all because I'm gonna fucking
drinking. Please,
I'm gonna spoil the fuck out your game. I'm gonna spoil Super Mario Galaxy. I'm gonna spoil.
That's not really a spoiler.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I don't even understand how you would spoil Super Mario Galaxy.
For motherfuckers that ain't played it because they ain't played the Wii until they got a Switch. I don't know.
No, if you bought a Switch, you didn't go back and play the Wii.
Yeah, go figure.
You ain't going to play the Wii after the Switch.
Yeah, most people didn't play the Wii after the Wii U, and the Wii U was a Wii.
If you didn't play the Wii, if you aren't one of the 100 million, the Switch ain't gonna make you go play the Wii.
But then 13 million that played the Wii.
Although Wii has better motion controls, that's all another thing.
Yeah, which is weird. But I had the issue where in going from Xenoblade Chronicles X to 2, and then I saw how Elma was in 2 versus X. Like everybody should love 2 now.
I don't even know anything about Elma in 2.
Oh my God! Play as Elma in 2. Jesus Lord!
You would have to buy the DLC. That was from the challenge mode.
That was the season
Lord,
deal.
I got to give you the capital T. Lord, you gotta play as Elma in 2 because the game is so broken.
What you have to do is you have to beat a challenge mode where you fight Elma, and then you beat the challenge mode and you get Elma. Yes. But you still have to. I think you still have to get another item to allow yourself to leave the challenge area with.
Which means you have to beat Elma twice. Elma Redux.
Yeah. And then, I hate that fight.
God.
So you can play as her in the game or not?
Yeah.
So as Elma Redux, what you need to do is
the same thing you can do with Shulk and Fiora. You can do with Elma.
So people told me that the Elma is broken. Because
she keeps her overdrive ability.
She's not broken with Zeke.
She keeps her overdrive ability from X, so you can do everything else in 2 plus the overdrive ability from Chronicles X.
So if you have Elma and Corvin on Zeke, right? So you can do what's called it's literally just a jump in place. You do a jump in place. And you do like a down stab, right? And that down stab counts as you doing evasion, right? And you do this evasion, and if somebody's trying to hit you while you're doing this evasion, you get free restart on whatever your special is. So you can essentially do
the Bacardi pick.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, excuse me, Bacardi, but you can do the special again for free. Essentially,
I
just want to know Elma's in the actual game where you can play regular Xenoblade Chronicles 2 with Elma in your party.
Yeah,
you can.
What you could have done, and realistic, actually, you're doing New Game Plus, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and if you do New Game Plus, it's even worse.
All you have to do, I think, for you just have to get to Uriah.
Yes.
When you get to, because the challenge room is in Uriah.
Isn't the challenge only for season pass owners?
It's in Argenum too, though.
Is it?
Yes, it's in Argentum when you first start New Game Plus.
Yours was,
Until
I mean,
you
yeah,
get
of course, you
to
have to buy the
Raya.
mode. You do have to buy the season pass for it. But if you're
Well, I
someone
bought the season pass, so I don't know how it is.
Oh,
for
no,
people that
I'm
didn't
talking
buy
the juice. I'm talking the juice. You do have to buy the season pass for it, but for juice, since you're still pretty early into your New Game Plus, you can easily get her and then play the rest of the game with her in your party.
Did he buy the season pass or no?
No, that's what I'm saying.
I pretty much had my fill waiting for their new game. I might
So
pick up
he's
Torna.
got a lot to download then.
I might pick up Torna.
What I said, because Torna's included with the season pass. That's why I said that.
God, you gotta play Torna, dude.
Because if you get the season, you gotta spend $30 for the season pass and Torna regardless anyway. It's the same price. So I would say get the season pass because then you get Torna included.
Look, for everybody that's been trolling me in the chat, if you play Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and you haven't played Torna, fucking play Torna. You'll understand everything Mithra's going through. Like for not even talking on some drunk shit. Like for real, just like you gotta understand what Mithra is going through. Like Mithra created power for a reason.
Stop! You're gonna do it. You're gonna go in the
I'm not gonna spoil anything, but I'm saying,
dude,
like that's like level 4. Like, how do you not know?
People don't know.
I'm ready to roll out of here. So
yeah, it's been like 3 hours at this point.
Nah, for real, but I appreciate you, Juice. I appreciate it for real.
I normally don't do
ShadowCast
more than the Juice is Loose just because just like I just did a Juice Opinions on Wednesday for the first time in months because my time has been dedicated to playing games. It's hard to get away. I don't.
No, for real talk. I appreciate you, Juice, because ShadowCast typically run this long like a motherfucker for real. So no, and that's not me joking. For real, like
I know.
We know.
No. I understand because
we know they've been 6 hours.
Anybody that's ever been on these, they know how these go. And for you to be here and tell me what you need to do, and for you to give me your real opinion before you go and go play games for real, I appreciate you being here for real. Seriously.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was interesting. And obviously we determined Xenoblade Chronicles X is better of the two games.
Yes. Yes, we win. We win.
I will say Uriah, I think it's Uriah in Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Yeah,
If more of the game had that kind of aesthetic, not that copy that aesthetic, but more effort put into the aesthetics. Like more ordained is one of the just most visually boring parts of the Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It just looks bad. It just looks terrible, especially when you first get there in that storm or whatever. It just looks bad. I would rather.
I'm determined to find a more ordained.
I don't.
Did y'all see me stream Van Damme though? Because Van Damme is like so not relevant, but I decided to max him out.
But anyway, that's all I got. You guys are gonna keep going. That's fine.
Oh, hell no, I'm good. I'm fucking good.
I'm gonna go anyway.
I'm late. I want to play some more Valkyria Chronicles 4. Dead ass. I've gotten into the
you gotta play it now.
Because either that, I'm gonna end up playing 2 again. And right now, I want to play Chronicles 4.
I might start X over. I don't know.
If you play X over, I'm right on top of you. I'm gonna play X2.
I'm not
for real.
No, because the only thing else I need to do as far as X Chronicles 2 is concerned is I'm tempted to do New Game Plus again, and I don't fucking need to do it. I was gonna say, Juice, since you've done New Game Plus, that means you can get the Torna Blades.
If you've never done New Game Plus, you have to do it because you got to do New Game Plus after Torna.
No.
Yes.
You don't have to.
But no, because you got to understand what the fuck Mithra did.
No, listen.
I don't really care, honestly.
Well,
I mean, I already know.
I don't have to care, but you at least understand.
Look, I've beaten Torna, beaten the main game. I have over 400 some hours in the game. I'm good as far as plots.
I just wish I could run.
You're the closest.
You wish you could run.
I'm playing right now, and I keep hitting that damn left stick down and changing my map because I want to fucking run. Because Rex is so freaking slow.
I forgot.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about Laura.
Do you already have access to Mithra and?
No, I just got to Gormont.
Oh, so they don't unlock that until you get
You don't get the blades you had until you unlock them in the story progression.
Well, I mean,
Wait, you're playing Torna?
No, he's playing. No, he's playing New Game
Right
Plus in the base
now,
game.
Pyro's got a little cat ear hoodie on. I know Terrell likes that.
I mean, I don't.
But she should have the leggings now for the anniversary.
I don't have
Oh,
Mithra.
No. Yeah. He could get the costume right now. But
Get Mithra with the leggings.
I don't have Mithra, so
He doesn't have Mithra, so
you got to get because everybody's saying this about the fucking leggings. Apparently, for some reason,
No. We know why. It's because
the leggings.
Real quick, just to let you know,
I'm not like that with the leggings, but I just need heels. I don't need.
Listen. The outfit that he's talking about is from the censor. Is the censor outfit is what we call it, and why?
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. But
since Mithra is a sticker in the game, they had to like clean her up for Smash.
For Smash, yeah.
And so the Xenoblade,
which I don't understand because that's still a team game, but
so Xenoblade. So for what they did for Xenoblade is they made that outfit the variation of the outfit they had to do for Smash Brothers. They turned it into a legit costume and put it in the game.
Well, let me tell you something about clothing versus skin on a cartoon-ish video game character.
Here we go.
And I still feel we're a couple generations away from skin looking properly for me.
That's not gonna happen for real for many generations.
So it's like if to me leggings like in Bayonetta, her more covered outfits were the better ones because her skin didn't look real. It just was it's just like a light texture, it didn't have any realness to it. So I've always just appreciated cloth or clothing because they can actually reproduce that semi decently in a video game. Like Mithra's anime legs don't do anything for me, but leggings might. That's basically
but see, now you're gonna be like in this weird realistic thing, like what I said earlier. Because if you start thinking like that, you have to understand that their eyes are the size of their brains, technically.
I need to see anime legs in the chat, anime stockings in the chat. Let me see.
There are some characters that have 3D faces and some that have weird anime faces, and it doesn't make any sense, and that doesn't take retro out of the game. I don't know why, but it doesn't.
But he didn't like X, so
I linked the video of showing off Mithra's new costume. There's a video I just linked.
Okay, when I heard that 3D thing, when I was like, oh really, like that's a thing, I have to look and search for it, and even when I look, I still barely see the difference.
Takes me right out of it.
It doesn't take me out of the game because I barely see it.
As soon it's so prevalent, especially Zeke. He's like got a normal 3D face, and then everyone else in the party has the anime face. It's just so weird. I
do notice it now, but it's partially due to the fact that they had different artists work on.
Yeah. Well, it's weird that doesn't bother retro. That's what.
Because that's just like
because retro's fucking insane.
I gave you like a reason for that already. Like when I read it, I was like, "Oh, really?" And then I tried to look for it, and I barely see it, so I don't see it, so I don't notice it.
Skip to like 9 minutes and 10 seconds. I'm sorry, because apparently the dude actually shows the full how to get the outfit thing.
See, that's better. I like the leggings better than the terrible.
A lot of people have said that.
But I'm saying if you're gonna have the leggings, you gotta have the cleavage needs to be down here too. But if you don't have the cleavage down here too, why the hell you got the leggings way up?
Remember, this is their Smash Brothers outfit, so there is no cleavage.
I don't understand it because the game is rated teen. So what was she at rated teen? She had skin way up to the fucking crotch.
Ultimate is rated. I thought Ultimate was rated E10.
E to teen.
Does this person not know how to look at a character in Xenoblade without the character moving?
Yeah, he doesn't. That's the trade-off. I'm pretty sure Smash Brothers is E plus 10. It's not teen. I think that was the reason they did that with Tharja.
I could have sworn it was teen because that was the whole point for Bayonetta.
I'm 90%. Yeah,
Bayonetta's half naked in Smash 4.
No, she's more naked than half.
No, she's not. She's nowhere
Zero
near naked.
does a full-on crotch celebration with lifting her leg up with her crotch right at the camera.
That's teen plus to me. But
I don't think they counted this as real quick. Let me look.
So anyway, while you guys do that, I'm gonna go get the stuff necessary to get Poppy running. So
yeah, it's E plus. It's
Poppy broken or Poppy cutie pie broken?
Poppy in general.
I started over.
Smash Brothers. Yeah, Ultimate is only
it's E plus.
It's E10 plus. which I guess just means
10-year-olds can handle a little cleavage. Come on.
well, nowadays everything is harassment and sexual.
But anyway, I'm out of here. Keep saying that. So it's been fun.
Dude.
Yeah, I'm gonna drop out too now.
Yeah,
you guys.
Hey, look, I appreciate you guys coming through. I appreciate it. If you can, please come through the ShadowCast as much as you can, and we'll incorporate you more into the channel as more as we can. So, from
Just can't wear that
Juicy
ugly.
Loose-
Just don't wear that ugly Falcons jersey next time.
Look, man, you know what? Look, I can
Oh.
only do one step above the Lions.
I won't even wear my Lion shirts anymore. So
Look, I
Where's my
have a
Lions?
little bit of pride, so one step above the Lions, man. That's all I can do. Harry Douglas, even though he's playing for the Titans now, whatever.
anyway,
it is what it is.
you were doing your send off. So
Yeah, do your send off.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Do your send off on your own, man. Go ahead,
All right.
Juice.
yeah, man, it's
Yeah.
been real.
It's a ShadowCast. Do what the fuck you want, man.
Been
Hey,
real.
who's a hater?
It's been fun. Just hasn't been real fun, as they say.
Is that right?
That's just an old saying.
Reels.
No, this was fun, and I probably I'm good for maybe 2 of these a year. So
Okay.
6 months from now, let me know. Depends
Don't
on.
don't you mean like fucking like 29 days?
Well,
from now?
I'll come on when you want to talk about how shitty Nintendo Switch Online is, and then I'll come back on
We can do that one. We need permanent. we need Mr. T on that one though.
because I use it. I have it, and I tell you what, it's not. I'm glad I'm not paying for it because it ain't worth paying for. That's all I got.
Hey,
so
so
thanks for
Richard
having
Duff,
me.
what you got, man?
Yeah, like it's been like a lot of fun. Actually, I wasn't expecting it to be as much fun. I don't know, like it's just I always like
Because
to
you
play
and
video
Juice
games
getting
and
fights
shit,
so
and
damn much.
I'm just glad that people understand my perspective more. That I'm not just blind hating, and that you guys finally know that I'm hating for a good reason because X.
But
is
I am
not a
hating.
good
That's
game.
the whole point.
You say X was a great game. That don't sound like hater to me. I don't.
No, like it has some good things, but like it's a bad game. Like, it is not that good. I'm glad that now you guys finally know why it's not that good. Like because of the gameplay, it's not good in the battle system, it's not good in the world, it's not good in the music, it's not good in the characters. Like there's so many points where it's just not good. And now I'm glad I was finally able to share that over here with like.
I'm gonna take all of that as compliments.
And I'm gonna.
Thanks for having me on, and I'll definitely be on at some point again because this was a lot of fun.
Yes,
All right.
definitely.
And I guess
Let me just
throw-
point out something because I was playing Xenoblade here for a second, and
Yeah.
that whole hey, you're on a quest, start a quest. Here's these 3 people you talk to. Oh, you go talk to this person. Do you want to make this your active quest? Yes. I go talk to the next. Oh, there's another green exclamation or blue exclamation point. Go talk to him.
Yep.
Oh, you want to make this your the active quest? Like Jesus Christ, why can't I have multiple active quests? That to me
because
is
that shows up on your thing multiple times.
guys,
It's so many requirements to start a fucking quest, man. Like,
So, of course, Juice would be the dude. Oh, I'm gonna start playing Xenoblade 2
you get
again.
lost in a
Fucking hate this
freaking
game.
so Juice, you're supposed to be
rabbit
fighting
hole
for X,
quest.
and you're like shitting on it like
No, this
constantly.
is 2.
Oh, he's talking about 2. He's talking about
This
2.
is 2. 2. I'm in a rabbit hole of fucking quests in Xenoblade Chronicles 2 just to get Poppy's parts to get her working, and it's like every one I gotta ask me to set as an active quest, and it's like, can't I just have them all set? And
I mean, you
Do
still
we
have
count
them.
Poppy though?
You
Because
still,
like,
you still have them in there.
there's
but-
other quests. There's other like Blade quests that are worse than Poppy. Like, do we
no,
count
I
Poppy?
literally need Poppy's unfunctioning. I just started the game over. She doesn't.
Yeah.
But
doesn't
Poppy
work.
Cutie Pie is like the best Blade
All right,
in
I'm
the
out.
game.
Listen,
I'm out.
that's actually
Talk to you
this
later.
was
It's
fun.
been fun.
I had a lot of fun time. Video games are great. That's the gameplay to win. Saying Game Freak, anime waifus will motherfucking win. Titties for days. I'm out.
Look, as that being said, Titty for Day, like you said, ShadowCast, we're out, man. I don't know what else to say for y'all. Y'all in the chat, y'all looking kind of stranded, but it is what it is, man. Look, we're gonna do what we do. I'm sorry we didn't come to the conclusion that you want, but we're done, man. Bacardi wins all the time. It's out.